Chapter 2018 2018 Suyen vs. Flying Dust. I have returned from the tomb of the gods to take revenge. All the people of the Dragon King must die. When Suyen's voice reverberated through the entire sky, everyone was slightly shocked. He stood on the head of the divine light tiger and stared coldly at Longmen Academy in front of him. When everyone in Jiang City heard this voice, they were very surprised. Especially when the 5 divine tigers approached and saw Swain, who was standing on the tiger's head, they all revealed astonished expressions. I returned from the god tomb? That's the strongest expert in the fire god palace. He actually didn't die. It's Suyen. Back then, he carried a divine weapon and desperately rushed into the South Pole god tomb. In the end, the divine weapon exploded. I didn't expect that he actually didn't die. The 5 divine tigers beside him have such a terrifying aura. Hiss, could it be that he has obtained the God Lord's inheritance? That divine light tiger's aura is so terrifying. Heavens, he's here for revenge. He's here to seek revenge on the Dragon King. He wants to kill all of the Dragon King's people. When everyone heard that incomparably cold voice and looked at Swain, who was standing on the tiger's head, they instantly recognized his identity. The strongest person in the throne room of the Fire God Palace. Returning from the divine tomb. Taking revenge on the Dragon King. When everyone saw this scene, their expressions changed slightly. Xiao Ran, Jiling Fei, and the others stared intently at Swain, their expressions changing drastically. The strongest person in the throne room of the Fire God Palace had the strength of 4 wisps of divine fire in the past. Even if there was no increase in strength, it was still not something they could deal with. Oh no, that expert in the throne room of the Fire God Palace is very strong. Lu Mingxin's expression changed slightly when she saw this scene. You've returned from the divine tomb. Don't worry, Mingxin. With me here, even if he returns from hell, I can still send him back. Chen Feiyang narrowed his eyes slightly. His gaze swept over Suyen as he said to Lu Mingxin. You. Lu Mingxin looked at Chen Feiyang. She opened her mouth slightly to thank him, but in the end, she did not say it out loud. Chen Feiyang indeed had the strength to protect them. Disciple of the Dragon King, come out and face your death. Suyen stood on the divine light tiger. His body was filled with killing intent as he looked at Xiao Ran, Jiling Fei, and Chen Feiyang in the sky. Face your death. If you want to take revenge on my master, you might be the one to face your death. When Xiao Ran heard his words, he raised his head, stared at him, and roared. Looks like you are the Dragon King's disciple. Then die. I heard that this is the Dragon King's former residence. Today, not only will I kill you, I will also wipe out the entire city. I want to let the Dragon King know that my revenge is not something he can endure. Suyen's gaze locked onto Xiao Ran. A wild killing intent appeared on his face as he roared. Kill him. He ordered the 4 divine light tigers beside him. Roar, 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 roar. At this moment, the 4 divine light tigers let out a furious roar. Their bodies emitted an icy cold aura as they pounced toward Xiao Ran. Suyen did not hesitate at all. He immediately attacked when they met. One could imagine how much hatred and anger he had towards the Dragon King over the past year. TSK. You're from the divine tomb, and I happen to be from the divine tomb as well. You dare to touch my brother-in-law? You're courting death. Chen Feiyang saw the 4 divine tigers of light attacking Xiao Ran. Naturally, he could not hesitate at this moment. His body moved, and with a wave of his hand, 4 thick mountains that were thousands of meters in size appeared in front of him. Boom! With a wave of his arm, the 4 thick mountains smashed towards the 4 divine tigers of light. Roar, 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 roar. The 4 divine tigers saw the mountains and their faces revealed roaring expressions. The power of light on their bodies intensified and they opened up their huge tigers MW. One by one, light bullets flew towards the mountains. Boom, boom, boom. In an instant, a terrifying explosion sounded in the sky and the entire space shook. However, The mountain did not have the slightest ripple under the attacks of the 4 divine tigers of light. It continued to collide towards the divine tigers. Bang bang bang. A series of violent collisions caused the light on the bodies of the 4 divine lords of light to tremble violently. Their bodies flew backwards for over 10,000 meters. What? Who are you? When he saw the 4 divine tigers fly backwards, Sui Yin's pupils constricted slightly. His expression was grave as he stared at Qin Feiyang. Mountain God's main inheritor, Qin Feiyang, since you came out from the South Pole Divine Tomb, then let us have a competition. I want to see what you are capable of. Qin Feiyang's gaze swept past Sui Yin and the group of divine tigers of light, and a cold smile appeared on his face. This time, he did not feel the slightest threat from Sui Yin. He was certain that the other party was absolutely not his opponent. This was the strong premonition of his mountain physique. The inheritor of the North Pole Divine Tomb. Sui Yin's expression changed slightly when he heard his words. Immediately after, a stern expression appeared on his face. I, Sui Yin, am the spokesperson of the Eternal God Lord. It is best for an inheritor like you not to participate in this. Otherwise, you will die without even knowing how you died. Spokesperson, ha. Interesting. Today, I am participating in this. What can you do to me? I would like to know whether it is my Mountain God Lord's inheritance or your South Pole God Lord's spokesperson who is more powerful. Qin Feiyang laughed out loud. His body trembled slightly and his body slowly grew bigger. Very soon, Qin Feiyang, who was as tall as a mountain, stood proudly in the void and stared coldly at Swain. You are playing with fire and setting yourself on fire. Sui Yin felt the aura from Qin Feiyang's body and his expression changed slightly as he shouted out sternly. Let me see how powerful your South Pole God Tomb spokesperson is. Qin Feiyang revealed a savage expression on his face. His body moved, and like a meteorite, he directly attacked towards Sui Yin. Divine Light Tiger, kill him, kill him. Sui Yin's pupils constricted, and he immediately ordered the 5 divine light tigers to attack Qin Feiyang. The 5 divine tigers, especially the one under him, directly pounced towards Qin Feiyang. In midair, its body grew to about 10,000 meters in size, and its huge mouth bit towards Qin Feiyang. Be careful. Lu Mingxin's expression changed slightly when she saw this scene, and she immediately shouted. Ha! Qin Feiyang heard her words and laughed loudly. He clenched his fist tightly and smashed it towards the divine light tiger. At the instant he attacked, an incomparably terrifying mountain formed in front of his fist and smashed towards the top of the divine tiger's head. Boom, boom, boom. Qin Feiyang, who had unleashed his full strength, had the strength to suppress the 7 wisps of divine fire god. When the mountain landed on the divine light tiger, the terrifying mountain power caused the divine light tiger's light power to dissipate. The divine light pearl in the middle of the tiger's head began to dim. Ha, with your strength, you still want to kill the Dragon King for revenge? You have to have the strength of me at the very least. Qin Feiyang looked at the collapsing divine light tiger's arm and took out the divine light pearl with his mountain-like palm. While laughing, he didn't forget to show off. Chapter 2019. 2019. In 2019, the God Lord had appeared, and Qin Feiyang had fallen. Boom! In the sky above Jiang City, a tremor sounded, and everyone raised their heads to look. Qin Feiyang, who was thousands of meters tall, gave off an invincible aura, and the 10,000-meter-tall divine light tiger was defeated with a single punch. The divine light pearl was held in his hand, and the divine light tiger instantly collapsed. At this moment, he didn't need to say anything to show off, but he was indeed awesome. His invincible stance was extremely shocking. On Earth today, many people already believed that Qin Feiyang had the strength that was comparable to the Dragon Palace. It was the strength of the entire Dragon Palace, not the strength of the Dragon King alone. In fact, in the eyes of many people, the Dragon King's strength wasn't very strong. In fact, he might not even have ignited the divine fire yet. Of course, this was only the opinion of the outside world. After all, Wang Xian had never shown his strength. The last time when Qin Feiyang was subdued, due to the coverage of the space locusts and Shaolan's Kun region, no one knew what exactly happened. In addition, Qin Feiyang often acted pretentious. This made many people come up with this view that was accepted by most people. What? The god of Light Tiger, which is comparable to the god of 6 wisps of divine fire, was actually defeated in an instant. When Suiyan saw that the strongest god of Light Tiger was defeated by a single punch, a shocked expression appeared on his face. Defeating the god of light, who was comparable to the god of 6 wisps of divine fire with a single punch, how could his strength be so terrifying? That god tiger is comparable to the god of 6 wisps of divine fire. My god, this Qin Feiyang's strength is so terrifying. Even though we have already witnessed the terror of Qin Feiyang's god, killing a divine tiger that is comparable to 6 wisps of divine fire with a single punch is still extremely shocking. That Suiyan is completely incapable. Even if he entered the South Pole Divine Tomb, he still doesn't seem to be Qin Feiyang's match. It seems that he hasn't obtained the inheritance of the eternal god. Qin Feiyang is awesome. One after another, shocked discussions sounded from below. Everyone raised their heads and stared intently at this great battle. With your strength, you still dare to come and kill my brother-in-law and the others? Qin Feiyang saw the shocked Suiyan and the corner of his mouth slightly curled up. He shouted somewhat shamelessly. When he heard these words, the faces of Xiao Ran, Lu Mingxin, and the others turned black. His gaze swept past the 4 god lords of light around him. His body shook, and 6 mountains flew out from all directions. They directly pressed down on the last 4 god lords of light. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The 4 god tigers of light were trapped by the mountains, and were directly pressed down from all directions. Roar, 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 roar. For sounds that seemed to be filled with terror rang out. Qin Feiyang extended his arm, and a huge palm directly put the god pearls of light into his bag. His gaze turned to Suiyan, and his face was filled with a mocking expression. What a huge gap. The gap is too huge. Suiyan had just walked out of the divine tomb, and now he's met Qin Feiyang. He's completely dumbfounded. I'm dying of laughter. I was still thinking of taking revenge on the Dragon King, but in the end, I wanted to kill Xiao Ran and the others, but I was suppressed by Qin Feiyang. From below, everyone was watching this scene mockingly. Suiyan, who had returned from the divine tomb, was still thinking of killing all the people of the Dragon King. In the end, he met Qin Feiyang, who was currently pursuing the Dragon King's disciple and sister-in-law. It was a tragedy in an instant. You dared to kill those divine tigers of light. You're finished. You're finished. When Suiyan saw that all the divine lords of light were easily killed, a trace of fear appeared on his face. No matter what, he had never thought that this would be the case. He had obtained a huge opportunity from the divine tomb. Originally, he had wanted to suppress the Dragon King, but in the end, he realized that the Dragon King's strength might not be something he could deal with. He wanted to make a move on the Dragon King's family. However, on this side, he had encountered a tough nut to crack. He was a little frightened and wanted to vomit blood. This time, he had brought the 5 divine tigers of light that the Divine Lord had given him. TSK, the one who is finished is you. You can go and die too. Suiyan's figure moved and directly attacked Suiyan. A 5-fingered mountain pressed down towards him. Not good, escape. Seeing the 5-fingered mountain, his expression changed drastically. He hurriedly turned around and wanted to flee into the distance. You want to escape from my 5-finger mountain? Qin Feiyang said disdainfully. The 5-finger mountain pressed down on him. No. If you dare to kill me, the God Lord will not let you off. God Lord Guangyi will make you wish you were dead. Suiyan felt the threat of death coming from the 5-finger mountain in the sky. He shouted in fear. God Lord Guangyi? Qin Feiyang was slightly stunned when he heard this name. The 5-finger mountain in the sky froze slightly. God Lord Lightwing, I want to see how a god lord who has been dead for hundreds of thousands of years won't let me off, ha! However, soon, a faint smile appeared on his face. According to the inheritance, he knew that God Lord Lightwing was an existence comparable to the mountain God Lord. However, in the inheritance, God Lord Lightwing had died even earlier than the mountain God Lord. Die! With a light shout, the terrifying mountain landed on Sui Yen's body. One. At this moment, a light spot on his chest suddenly shone brightly. The light spot covered his entire body and blocked the mountain's attack. It seems that you still obtained some treasures in the divine tomb. Chen Feiyang said indifferently as he raised his other hand and pressed downwards once more. Boom! A powerful shockwave crashed against the light barrier on his body. At this moment, Suiyen's expression changed drastically as he spat out large mouthfuls of blood. The current him was only able to ignite 5 wisps of divine fire. He was not Chen Feiyang's match at all. In fact, he did not even have the strength to resist. Pooh! Sensing that the light barrier was about to collapse, Suiyen's face turned pale and malevolent. Chen Feiyang, just you wait. Very soon, the Lord God will kill you. Very soon, just you wait. A shrill voice came from Suiyen's mouth. Under the protection of the remaining light barrier, a drop of his divine blood directly fled in the direction of the South Pole God tomb. Ugh. Chen Feiyang slightly raised his eyebrows when he saw that the divine blood had escaped. With a wave of his arm, a mountain appeared out of thin air in front of the divine blood. Bang! However, the power of light directly pierced through the mountain, carrying his divine blood and continuing to rush towards the south. You can escape the first day of the Lunar New Year, but you can't escape the 15th day. Wait until my strength increases a little more, and I'll directly overturn your South Pole divine tomb. Chen Feiyang saw that a drop of Suiyen's divine blood had completely escaped, so he didn't pay too much attention to it. He spoke with confidence. So God Suiyen is finished just like that? It's simply too tragic. Ha! Last time, I was suppressed by the Dragon King's subordinates. This time, I originally obtained a huge opportunity. After returning from the divine tomb and meeting God Chen Feiyang, I was once again suppressed. I only managed to escape a drop of divine blood. This fellow can be called the most unlucky person to have such an opportunity. Everyone in Jiang City laughed and discussed when they saw that Suiyen was on the verge of death. Unlucky fellow. The inheritor of the North Pole Divine Tomb? The inheritor of the Mountain God Lord? That mountain guy's mountain body is very terrifying. He is just an inheritor. Is there any more news? God Lord Lightwing raised his head slightly, but his face didn't change at all. Lord God Lord, currently, there are only 3 forces in the entire planet: the Dragon Palace, the Dragon Gate Academy, and the inheritor of the North Pole God Tomb. The leader of the Dragon Palace, the Dragon King, is the culprit who killed our senior and junior brothers. Sui Yen immediately reported. The God Lord of Lightwings didn't say anything, but slowly walked forward. Lord God Lord, you want to go? Sui Yen saw the God Lord of Lightwings walk toward the exit of the Divine Kingdom, and he was stunned. Open the Eternal Divine Kingdom. The God Lord of Lightwings said and looked in Sui Yen's direction. Buzz. A ball of light enveloped Sui Yen's divine blood and condensed a light void body for him. Take me to the Mountain God Lord's successor. The God Lord of Lightwings ordered Sui Yen. It's the God Lord. Sui Yen's eyes flashed with excitement and he immediately pointed in the direction. 1. The God Lord of Lightwings did not rush over immediately. He came to the exit of the Divine Kingdom and a vast wave of light power spread out in all directions. Roar! At this moment, in the entire Eternal Divine Kingdom, 20 to 30 divine tigers of light that were formed from light energy spread out in all directions. They raised their heads and roared. Ka 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 ka. This roar seemed to have turned on a switch. Rays of light shot out in all directions. A gentle amount of light energy spread out in all directions, quickly covering an area of over 10,000 kilometers. What's happening now? Hiss, what's going on? What's going on in this divine tomb? I just received news that God Chen Feiyang killed the Suiyan god who came out of this divine tomb. Everyone's expressions changed greatly as they stared intently at the radiant divine kingdom, their faces filled with shock. The eternal divine kingdom is opening. Roar, roar. At this moment, a voice filled with boundless majesty came from within the divine tomb. This voice caused everyone to be slightly shocked. Roar. At this moment, everyone saw an incomparably huge divine tiger with radiant wings flying out from the entrance of the divine kingdom. Its body was several thousand meters in size, and it was different from the divine tiger that was formed from the light attribute floating around the divine tomb. This divine tiger emitted a powerful life force and pressure. Voila! The light-winged divine tiger's eyes indifferently swept across everyone around the eternal kingdom, and its 1,000-meter large wings spread out. Around the wings, light wings floated around. One. Above his head, an incomparably huge divine crown of light slowly appeared. Voila! His wings trembled slightly, and he flew out of the divine kingdom, flying towards the east. God Lord Lightwing didn't say a single word. Only an endless pressure spread out in all directions. Everyone around the divine tomb held their breaths as they watched this scene. Their mouths were slightly agape, and their expressions were filled with shock. This God Lord, who had once again emerged from the divine tomb, was even more terrifying than Suiyan and the others not long ago. What's the situation with that divine light tiger? Its aura is so terrifying. Is it a creature that revived in the divine tomb? Where is it going? When the radiant God Lord disappeared, some people muttered. At this time, some people looked into the divine tomb and thought of what they had just said. The eternal divine kingdom was opened. Chapter 2021. 2021 God Lord came out, and dust flew everywhere. The eternal kingdom opened? This is not the God Lord's tomb. After the God Lord died, he was called the God Tomb. Why does it say that the eternal kingdom opened? Some people standing around the God Kingdom murmured, looking at the eternal kingdom with interests. The eternal kingdom seems to be able to enter. Some people looked at the stairs at the entrance with interest. Come, let's go in and take a look. A young man gritted his teeth and walked towards the stairs. In an instant, everyone looked at the young men. The young man at the front mustered up his courage and slowly walked up the stairs. When he reached the stairs, his heart was beating violently. When he saw that the destructive light energy was gone, his face revealed a look of joy. I'm fine, I'm fine. His face was filled with joy as he continued to walk up the stairs. Behind him, a group of youths immediately followed closely behind. We can go into the God Tomb. Quick, quick, we can go too. The tomb of the eternal God Lord, there are treasures everywhere. At this moment, everyone went crazy. They immediately rushed into the God Nation. Lowly creatures, the light-wing God Lord opening the divine kingdom is a gift to all of you. You must move forward humbly. Just as everyone crossed the last step, a voice suddenly sounded in everyone's mind. Everyone was slightly stunned as they looked forward. In front of them, there was an incomparably huge divine statue. The divine statue was a divine tiger with wings. The divine tiger was incomparably majestic, giving everyone an unfathomable pressure. In front of this god statue, everyone couldn't help but bend down. Hiss, how can there be such a powerful pressure? Why does this divine tomb feel completely different from the Arctic divine tomb? Everyone was slightly shocked. They looked at each other and continued to walk inside. When they entered, their expressions started to change. Everything was too normal. There wasn't the slightest sense of dilapidation or killing intent. Some people had entered the North Pole divine tomb, and it was filled with sorrow. Some things were already dilapidated, giving people a sense of silence. And here, everything was full of vitality. It was as if it was not a graveyard, but a true divine kingdom. Right? Did you notice that the divine tiger that just flew out is almost identical to the statue of God Lord Guangyi at the entrance? Suddenly a girl said. Some of the people around were slightly shocked. As they recalled, their expressions started to change. You mean, the owner of this divine tomb isn't dead? One of them asked in surprise. No, he should have fallen, but is it possible that he has been resurrected? Is it possible that the God Lord has been resurrected? Everyone's hearts trembled slightly. They looked around the divine kingdom. How is this a divine tomb? It was clearly the divine kingdom of an eternal God Lord. Boom! Just as everyone who entered the divine kingdom was shocked, a ray of light suddenly enveloped the entire Jiang city. In the center of the light, a divine tiger that was thousands of meters in size stood in the center. At the same time, a majestic pressure instantly covered the entire land. Suddenly, a light covered the entire sky, causing everyone to be slightly shocked. What happened again? The people of Jiang City were slightly stunned. It had only been less than an hour since the incident with Suiyin. What had happened now? Light. Within Longmen Academy, Xiao Ran and the others sensed the sudden appearance of the light pressure. A bad premonition suddenly appeared in their hearts. Their bodies moved, and they immediately flew into the sky. Someone is coming from the South Pole Divine Tomb again. Chen Feiyong's slightly impatient voice sounded in the void. He stood beside Lu Mingxin and slightly looked towards the sky. When he saw the God Lord of Light Wings in the middle of the void, he was slightly stunned. Lord God Lord, it's him. It's him who nearly killed me. It's him, the successor of the North Pole Divine Tomb's God Lord. An incomparably furious voice sounded in the air. The voice was not loud, but everyone could hear it clearly. Sir God Master? Xiao Ran, Ji Lingfei, and the others looked at Suiyin's divine blood. Their gazes then landed on God Master Guang. God Master? Chen Feiyong was also slightly startled. His eyes sized up God Master Guang Yi from head to toe. He slowly became serious. What's going on? Is that huge divine light tiger from the South Pole God Tomb? Are they here to take revenge for Suiyin? In Jiang City, all the people raised their heads, their expressions changing. Shan Yu's inheritor? At this moment, God Lord Lightwing, who was in the sky, locked his gaze on Chen Feiyong and asked indifferently. That mountain guy. When Chen Feiyong heard God Lord Lightwing's words, his pupils constricted. He dared to directly address God Lord Mountain by his name, and even attached that guy to it. Only existences of the same level would address him in this way. Otherwise, even for a fallen God Lord, very few people would address him in this way. It wasn't just Chen Feiyong. When everyone heard God Lord Lightwing's awe-inspiring and disdainful address, they were all slightly shocked. They stared at God Lord Lightwing, their expressions constantly changing. Who are you? Please speak with more respect. Chen Feiyong's expression was somewhat awkward as he roared in a low voice. Even if he is still alive, I, Lightwing, dare to address him directly. God Lord Lightwing laughed lightly as he stared at Chen Feiyong. An inheritor dares to kill my disciple. His crime is unforgivable. God Lord Lightwing indifferently said as he slightly raised his head. Roar. In an instant, a tiger head formed from light shot towards Chen Feiyong. What? At this moment, when Chen Feiyong heard God Lord Lightwing's words and felt this attack, his expression changed drastically. God Lord Lightwing, how is this possible? Didn't you already die? This is impossible. Mountains carry rivers. Chen Feiyong's pupils constricted as he shouted in disbelief. At the same time, his entire body trembled. A 10,000-meter thick mountain appeared in front of him, directly facing the tiger's head. There are many things you don't know. The mountain body that has just been formed is not able to withstand a single blow. God Lord Lightwing indifferently said to him. Boom! At this moment, the tiger's head collided with the mountain. The incomparably huge tiger's head emitted incomparably sharp teeth as it bit down on the mountain. Ka ka ka! At this moment, the mountain slowly split apart. Roar! The tiger's head roared angrily. Streams of light completely destroyed the mountain and directly attacked Qin Feiyang. What? Chen Feiyang's expression changed slightly. With a wave of his arm, his entire body rapidly expanded. With the mountain body activated, the 10,000-meter giant body appeared in front of everyone. Break for me! He let out a loud roar and attacked the streams of lights. Chapter 2022 2022 God Lord, Dust Flying, Fall 4. Boom! The entire sky began to shake, and countless streams of light shot out in all directions. Boom boom boom. An enormous explosion rang out. Xiao Ran, Jilingfei, Lu Mingxin, and the others' expressions changed slightly, and they hurriedly blocked the streams of light. Boom! Xiao Ran waved his arm, and an incomparably large flame shield blocked the sky. However, the flame shield was instantly pierced through, and a few rays of light shot towards him. Bang! When the rays of light landed in front of him, Xiao Ran's expression changed drastically, and he flew backwards. Oh no, what a terrifying attack! His face was filled with shock, and Jilingfei's expression was also incomparably grave. Ah! At this moment, the people below who had been swept by the flowing light let out miserable cries. Under that flowing light, even demigods were instantly reduced to ashes. In an instant, that flowing light alone had caused the deaths of at least 10,000 people in River City. Damn it! Chen Feiyang saw this scene, and an angry expression appeared on his face. He clenched his hand tightly, and a mountain peak appeared in front of him, slamming heavily in front of him. The mountain directly smashed towards the tiger's head. At the same time, he immediately flew into the sky to prevent the city below from being affected. Roar, roar. The tiger's head roared and directly smashed towards the mountain. The incomparably terrifying power caused the mountain to collapse once again. Be careful! When Lu Mingxin saw this scene, her expression changed greatly, and she immediately warned loudly. All this while, Chen Feiyang had only relied on his mountain to suppress powerful enemies. This was the first time he had seen his mountain being shattered so easily. I am the Mountain God Lord's successor. Even if you are the Lightwing God Lord, you have already fallen. Even if you are resurrected now, it is impossible for you to have peak strength. I, Chen Feiyang, am not afraid of you. Chen Feiyang roared loudly as his body was covered by pieces of rocks. Soon, a mountain giant appeared in the void and transformed into a mountain. This was Chen Feiyang's strongest attack. After he finished speaking, he directly attacked the Radiant Wing God Lord. The terrifying power and heavy aura were like an incomparably huge star that crashed towards him. Roar, roar! The God Lord of Light Wings continued to stare at Chen Feiyang indifferently as the massive tiger head charged towards him once more. Get lost! Chen Feiyang transformed into a mountain and charged towards the tiger head. A terrifying sonic boom sounded in the sky. Hong! The heavy attack caused everyone's hearts to tremble, as if their hearts had stopped beating. A few 100,000 meters below, some people below the demigod level spat out a mouthful of blood. In the sky, a wave of air that could be seen with the naked eye shot out in all directions. Everyone in Jiang City, as well as the cities around Jiang City, had a huge change in expression. They were all filled with fear. God Lord? God Lord Guangyi, how is this possible? That divine tiger is actually the eternal God Lord. Hiss, the eternal God Lord has been resurrected? Oh my God, this... Below, everyone was sprawled on the ground, their faces filled with shock. Some of them were trembling as they shouted loudly. The resurrection of the eternal God Lord was like an invincible boss to everyone. Who would be able to block the resurrection of such an existence? Everyone raised their heads and looked at Chen Feiyang, who was fighting against God Lord Lightwing in the sky. The 10,000-meter-long tiger head was now completely biting Chen Feiyang's left hand. His mountain-like right hand kept smashing toward the tiger head. Roar! Crack! Ah! At this moment, a miserable scream came from Qin Feiyang's mouth. His mountain-like left arm began to slowly crack. It was crushed by the tiger's mouth. Qin Feiyang. Lu Mingxin's body trembled, and her eyes turned red as she roared. Explode! Qin Feiyang roared, and his entire left arm started to explode. A powerful force rushed towards the tiger's head. Roar! The tiger's head started to tremble, and the power of light flickered. Mountain body, Qing. The god lord of light wings frowned slightly when he saw this. He then snorted, and his wings trembled slightly. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. At this moment, two enormous wings of light shot out from his body and slashed towards Qin Feiyang. The two wings of light were like lasers. In a flash, they landed on Qin Feiyang's body. Bang! 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 Qin Feiyang's body instantly began to crumble, and large chunks of stone began to scatter in all directions. A pained cry came from his mouth, and a hint of terror appeared on Qin Feiyang's face. Space locust, come out! He let out a terrified roar, and countless space locusts flew out from his body. At least 3 to 4 billion space locusts were densely packed towards God Lord Lightwing. Troublesome! God Lord Lightwing saw the space locusts appear, and the divine crown on his head emitted a ray of light as it swept towards the billions of space locusts. GGG! In an instant, the space locusts let out miserable cries. Countless space locust corpses fell towards the ground below. Over 100 million locusts fell, but the dozens of space locusts only lasted for a few dozen seconds. Following that, two incomparably sharp wings slashed towards Qin Feiyang's body once more. No! Seeing all the space locusts being destroyed and the extremely sharp wings landing on his body, Qin Feiyang's face revealed a terrified and desperate roar. Bang! 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 A few terrifying collisions sounded. Qin Feiyang slowly lowered his head and looked at his body in shock. His mountain body was gradually falling apart. He could feel that his life force was rapidly disappearing. No, I haven't returned to the boundless star field. I'm the inheritor of the eternal God Lord. He shouted indignantly, his voice spreading throughout the entire world. Qin Feiyang. Lu Mingxin's eyes instantly turned red as she shouted in disbelief. A mere inheritor of the God Lord dares to challenge the dignity of my light wings? He's courting death. At this moment, a cold voice filled with might sounded from above. Hong! With a loud sound, huge rocks fell down one after another. There was some blood mixed within the rocks. At this moment, everyone looked at this scene in a daze. Qin Feiyang was dead, Qin Feiyang was actually killed. Hiss! Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air, their faces filled with shock. Qin Feiyang's strength was something everyone had witnessed. Just a few billion starry locusts were enough to wipe out all the gods. But now he was easily killed. No! When Lu Mingxin saw Qin Feiyang's corpse, her expression changed greatly, and she couldn't help but shout loudly. I am God Lord Guangyi. Now that the eternal kingdom has been opened, everyone should go and worship me. All the gods on this planet will enter my eternal kingdom and become disciples within 3 days. Otherwise, the gods will perish. At this moment, a majestic voice enveloped the entire earth and entered everyone's ears. Chapter 2023. 2023. All living beings become servants and all gods become disciples. I am God Lord Lightwing. The eternal divine kingdom is now open. Everyone, go and worship. All the gods on this planet enter my eternal divine kingdom and become disciples within 3 days. Otherwise, the gods will perish. A vast and majestic voice resounded across the sky. The voice reverberated throughout the entire sky. Everyone listened to this sentence in a daze. Their faces were filled with shock. Especially those who were far away from Jiang City. When they heard this voice, their eyes were a little dazed, and their mouths were slightly agape. Light Wing God Lord? God Lord? This Why did a God Lord suddenly appear on our earth? Hiss. The eternal divine kingdom has opened up. Is it the eternal divine kingdom from the South Pole divine tomb? Allowing the gods to join the eternal divine kingdom and become disciples, that light-wing God Lord sure has an overbearing way of doing things. The sky is going to change again. A shocking voice rang out, and everyone looked at the South Pole graveyard in a daze. 1. At this moment, the wailing of heaven and earth rang out, and the shadow of a mountain giant suddenly appeared in the void. The shadow appeared for less than 10 seconds before it began to slowly collapse. The mountain god lord's successor, Chen Feiyang, had fallen. Hearing the mournful cries of heaven and earth and seeing the collapsing phantom, countless people were shocked. Chen Feiyang was the biggest lucky person before the recovery of spiritual energy. Especially the position of Jiang City. Today, it was a huge disaster for Jiang City. The Light-Wing God's main inheritor had fallen. Not long ago, Chen Feiyang, who had still displayed his divine might, had crushed Sui Yin and the 5 light god tigers who had returned from the god's tomb. But now, he had been killed so easily. Everyone had witnessed Chen Feiyang's strength. He was definitely an invincible expert. But he had been killed so easily by God Lord Guangyi. How powerful could God Lord Guangyi be? In the sky above Jiang City, God Lord Guangyi indifferently swept his gaze over the corpses on the ground. His face was filled with contempt. He waved his arm, and all the corpses of the space locusts and Chen Feiyang were directly collected. The Lord God is invincible. Beside the God Lord, Swain, who was in the light void form, shouted with excitement. Next, it was the Dragon King's turn. Buzz. The God Lord glanced around and the light disappeared instantly. Next, he just had to wait for the gods to join the eternal divine kingdom. As for whether there were any gods who did not join, he was not worried at all. Those who did not join, he could just kill them. He believed that killing a God Lord's successor was enough to intimidate everyone. Roar, roar. God Lord Lightwing, who had teleported to the sky above the eternal divine kingdom in the South Pole, let out a soft roar. He emitted a powerful divine might and flew directly into the divine kingdom. God Lord Lightwing is here, God Lord Lightwing is here. When he entered the divine kingdom, the faces of the people who had entered the divine kingdom changed slightly, and they hurriedly shouted. They had also heard the voice just now. Everyone respectfully knelt on the ground and bowed to God Lord Lightwing. Facing such a terrifying existence, they didn't dare not to kneel. God Lord Lightwing glanced indifferently and crouched above the peak of the divine kingdom. Who would have thought that the God Lord in this divine tomb would be resurrected? Everyone worships him, and the gods are his disciples. Will the Dragon King come here? Let's wait here. God Lord Guangyi is simply too terrifying. Chen Feiyang is the God Lord's successor, yet he was killed so easily. The people who entered the eternal divine kingdom saw God Lord Guangyi enter the center of the divine kingdom, and all of them were discussing in fears. Chen Feiyang. However, at this moment, in front of Jiang City's Dragon Gate Academy, Lu Mingxin's eyes were bloodshot as she looked at her surroundings. The corpse had already been taken away by God Lord Guangyi, so she could only look forward with sadness. This made her think of all the things Chen Feiyang had done to her during this period of time. The gifts he had given her, the teasing words he had said to her every day. Brother, Chen Fei, he's dead. Lu Mingxin could not help but come to Xiao Ran's side and burst into tears. Don't cry, don't cry. Let's go to Master's place. Don't cry. Xiao Ran also patted his sister's shoulder with some sadness. No matter what, Chen Feiyang gave everyone a pretty good impression, even if they had some grudges in the beginning. However, Chen Feiyang had made a move to deal with the danger that Earth had encountered, and when Sui Yin came over to take revenge, Chen Feiyang had helped him. Sui Yin's usual attitude, although he liked to act pretentious, was not annoying. He spoke softly, and his eyes were filled with fear as he looked in the direction of the South Pole. Who would want an eternal God there, a resurrected eternal God? Moreover, the eternal God had asked all the gods on earth to join his eternal divine kingdom and become his disciples. How overbearing was it to become his disciple? Even when the Dragon King had asked the gods to join the Dragon Palace as external members, he was not this overbearing. Perhaps, this was the majesty and confidence of the Eternal Lord. Let's go to the Dragon Palace. Xiao Ran patted Lu Mingxin's shoulder and the group immediately flew towards the Dragon Palace. The current situation was not something he could solve. But, Master! Teacher! When Xiao Ran and the rest arrived in the sky above the Dragon Palace, they saw Wang Xian and the leaders of the Dragon Palace floating in the sky. Yes. Wang Xian nodded and looked towards the South Pole with a slight frown. Master, he is dead. Xiao Ran walked over and said in a low voice. I already know that the god of light wings is very powerful. Wang Xian nodded his head. He had sensed it when Chen Feiyang died. Chen Feiyang's death surprised him greatly. Chen Feiyang's strength had already ignited 7 wisps of divine fire and possessed a special physique. Before Wang Xian's level increased, he could not guarantee that he would be a match for him. Master, that god of light wings used less than a minute to kill Chen Feiyang. His strength might not have recovered to the level of the eternal God Lord, but he should be close to the peak in the god realm. He wants all the gods to worship him. He wants all the gods to become his disciple. He wants all the living beings to be his servants and all the gods to be his disciples. He is the master. Xiao Ran continued to speak to Wang Xian with an embarrassed expression. That eternal God is too strong. I'm not his match. Ao, he said with a solemn expression. Xiao Lan can now kill a god with 8 wisps of divine fire. Judging from the power of the god of light wings, he should be above the 8 wisps of divine fire. Lan Qingyue frowned at the side. Xiao Xian, should we enter the Transcendence continent to hide? Guan Shuqing and the other girls looked worried. With the current strength of the Dragon Palace, it would be difficult for them to fight against the God Lord of Lightwing. Ao He, if you devour the tomb in the North Pole, do you have the confidence to kill the God Lord of Lightwing? At this moment, Prime Minister Gue suddenly asked Ao He. Devour the damaged eternal divine kingdom. Ao Crab's eyes were shining. If I devour that divine kingdom, I have the confidence to defeat or even kill him. Prime Minister Gue nodded slightly and looked at Wang Xian. Ba Qi, go and pick a soul-returning embryo fruit. Xiao Ran, bring Ba Qi to the place where Chen Feiyang died. Revive him. We will enter the divine kingdom at the North Pole and let Ao Crab devour the divine tomb. Wang Xian ordered the 8-limbed Xiao Ran and the rest indifferently. If it was a true eternal god, the Dragon Palace would naturally not be their match. However, a god who had fallen and resurrected had yet to recover to his peak. He wanted to see what qualifications he had to make them his disciples. All living beings as servants and gods as disciples. He. Chapter 2024. 2024 gathered. Uncle Ba Qi, can the Dragon Palace really save Chen Feiyang? Really? At this moment, in the void, Xiao Ran, Jiling Fei, and Lu Mingxin flew toward the place where Chen Feiyang had fallen with Ba Qi. When Lu Mingxin heard the news that Chen Feiyang could be saved, she was excited. Kikik, there's nothing our Dragon Palace can't do. The last time Xiao Ran died, he was directly saved. Ba Qi smiled arrogantly and said indifferently. Last time, my brother's corpse was still okay. But this time, Chen Feiyang's? His body was taken away by the God Lord of Light Wings. Lu Mingxin's eyes flickered as she said this. Don't worry. You'll know soon enough. As Ba Qi spoke, the group sped up and flew towards River City. When they arrived at River City, everyone turned their gazes towards Ba Qi. Ba Qi took out the soul-returning cauldron and crushed it. A special sensation entered his heart. With a slight jolt, the crushed soul-returning cauldron condensed once more, forming the image of Chen Feiyang. However, it looked like it was only the size of a palm. It closed its eyes and did not move. Chen Feiyang's death this time was different from Xiao Ran's. At the very least, Xiao Ran still had a corpse. He did not even have a corpse. The soul-returning embryo condensed into a body. Bachi smiled. Let's go back to the Dragon Palace. Under the shocked gazes of Lu Mingxin, Xiao Ran, and the rest, everyone immediately flew toward the Dragon Palace. Dragon King. After entering the Dragon Palace, Ba Qi handed the soul-returning embryo fruit to Wang Xian. He still needs some energy to revive. Okay. Wang Xian nodded. After hesitating for a moment, he looked at Lan Qingyue. Qingyue, he has the energy of Kuan in his body. Let Xiao Lan release some energy to revive him. He said to Lan Qingyue. Originally, Qin Feiyang already had some of Little Blue's systems in his body. These systems could not strengthen him in any way. Instead, they could control his life and death. This time, if he used Kuan's energy to completely revive him, it would also be an opportunity for him. In the long run, this opportunity would be even more terrifying than the Mountain God Lord's opportunity. This could also be considered a compensation for swallowing his divine kingdom. All right. Lan Qingyue nodded. With a wave of her arm, a special gray energy entered Qin Feiyang's body. Soon, Qin Feiyang's body slowly grew bigger, and he finally returned to his original appearance. However, the energy in his body was only at the demigod level. At this moment, Qin Feiyang's body moved, and Lu Mingxin, who was beside him, revealed a look of surprise and joy. He's alive. He's really alive. She said with a pleasantly surprised expression. Oh, I'm dead, right? This. Chen Feiyang slowly opened his eyes and looked around. Then he suddenly touched his own body. What's wrong with me? Why am I so weak? What happened? He said anxiously. You're already dead. Your body was taken away by the God Lord of Lightwing. Our Dragon King resurrected you. Kiki. Oktaki smiled at him and said, I'm dead. I remember. Mingxin, I really died and was resurrected? He still looked at Lu Mingxin in disbelief and asked. Yes, it was Teacher who brought you back to life. Because your body was taken away by the God Lord of Lightwing, he created a new body for you. Lu Mingxin started to explain to him. This caused Qin Feiyang's expression to change continuously. Not long ago, he had the strength of 7 wisps of divine fire. Now, he was only at the demigod level. This blow was very, very big to him. Let's go. Bring us into the god tomb of the god of mountain. We need that god tomb of yours. At this moment, Wang Xian said directly to Qin Feiyang. Chen Feiyang, after the god of light wings killed you, he opened up the eternal god. He wanted all the living beings to worship him. He also wanted all the gods to enter his divine kingdom as his disciples. Teacher and the rest want to use the divine kingdom of the mountain god to increase their strength. Lu Mingxin immediately explained to him. He wants to use my eternal divine kingdom. Chen Feiyang was slightly stunned. His expression changed and he looked like he was in pain. All right, it's already a new life for you to be revived by us. Furthermore, your body and physical energy are gathered by me. You can die completely with just a thought. Lan Qingyue said to him indifferently. The corner of Qin Feiyang's mouth twitched. He nodded his head and accepted his fate. All right, no matter what, thank you for saving my life, Dragon King. He stood up and bowed slightly to Wang Xian. He knew that being able to resurrect from the dead was already the greatest opportunity for him. Let's go. Wang Xian gestured to Ao Crab and the rest. They immediately flew into the North Pole Divine Tomb. Even though the Divine Tomb was damaged, it still contained a terrifying pressure. If one wanted to enter the North Pole Divine Tomb with brute force, one had to have the strength of a peak godly state. This was also the reason why Wang Xian and the rest did not enter the 2 tombs at the North and South Poles. But, as the inheritor of the tomb, Qin Feiyang could freely enter the tomb. Under his lead, the group entered the tomb. I was originally planning to wait until I reached the level of the eternal God Lord before making it my eternal divine kingdom. Now, Chen Feiyang looked around the tomb with a helpless expression. Ao Crab. Wang Xian gestured to Ao Crab who was beside him. All right, Dragon King, the divine kingdom of the eternal divine Lord, even if it's a slightly broken divine kingdom. Ao Crab's face revealed a fiery expression. Roar. He growled in a low voice and his entire body underwent an earth-shattering transformation. He was a gigantic and ferocious devouring dragon with a pitch-black body. There were sharp claws and spikes made of bone. It had a pair of enormous wings made of bone, and its entire body was exuding an evil aura. Its entire body was more than 10,000 meters in size. Walala! At this moment, small devouring dragons of the same shape crawled out of his body. The densely packed small devouring dragons revealed each of them to be 3 to 4 meters in size, and their faces were ferocious and terrifying. While Chen Feiyang was dumbstruck, Ao Crab directly swallowed some of the buildings in the divine tomb. A mountain peak that was thousands of meters in size was directly swallowed by Ao Crab. Following that, Ao Crab's huge and savage body began to devour the surrounding mountains. As a mountain peak in the divine kingdom of an eternal god, every one of them could be called a divine peak. After Ao Crab devoured it, it immediately turned into majestic energy. As long as the devouring dragon had enough resources, it could evolve to the peak. Mengxin, my heart is bleeding. Chen Feiyang looked at the eternal divine kingdom that originally belonged to him being devoured and said to Lu Mengxin with heartache. Alright. It's good that you're alive. Although the divine kingdom was lost, the inheritance is still there. You can still recover in the future. Lu Mengxin said to him with a smile. Chapter 2025. 2025 and 2025. All the living beings gathered. Ao Crab's devouring speed was very fast. His 10,000-meter-long body was wreaking havoc in the divine tomb, and the mountain peaks were decreasing at a terrifying speed. At the same time, the aura on his body was even more terrifying. It's completely over. The eternal divine kingdom. Back then, the mountain god lord used nearly 10,000 years to build an eternal divine kingdom. Chen Feiyang looked at her unwillingly. He wanted to cry, but no tears came out. I'm going to ignite the divine fire. I'll protect you from now on. Lu Mengxin smiled when she saw him like this. You said it yourself. I'll rely on you from now on. Chen Feiyang immediately stared at her and said, Why do I feel like you're up to no good? Lu Mengxin saw the change in his expression and raised her eyebrows as she stared at him warily. How can that be? Mengxin, my eternal divine kingdom is gone. He quickly pulled a long face and looked pitiful. At this moment, he also knew that he had to cling tightly to Lu Mengxin. The Dragon King's influence had completely exceeded his expectations, especially the monster that had devoured his divine kingdom. It was simply terrifying. Even when he was at his peak, he was absolutely not a match for this monster. In the future, we'll cultivate together. I believe that one day, we'll definitely become the eternal God Lord. Lu Mengxin smiled at him and comforted him. Then in the future, we'll walk the path of cultivation side by side. Chen Feiyang's eyes flickered as he said, Kid, don't have any bad ideas. I wasn't your match in the past, but now. HMH, you have to be more honest. Xiao Ran, who was at the side, glanced at him when he saw this fellow's expression. Ugh. Chen Feiyang smiled embarrassedly and didn't say anything. He had also clearly understood the current situation. The eternal divine kingdom was gone, and his strength had fallen to the level of a demigod. This was definitely an incomparably terrifying loss to him. But he had just discovered that his constitution seemed to have undergone some changes. He was very clear about his original mountain physique, but now he discovered that his mountain physique had undergone some changes. It had become stronger and more terrifying than before. He was certain that back then, when he was in his current realm, he was definitely not as strong as he was now. In fact, the current him could even defeat more than a dozen of him in his previous realm. It should be some of the physique of the space beast that is the Dragon King's wife. Now, my mountain body has become several times stronger than before. With the inheritance that I have obtained, as long as I have enough resources, I will definitely be able to completely recover and even reach the eternal God Lord realm. Chen Feiyong's mind was active as he thought about what to do next. Go, go, go. God Lord Guangyi wants all of us to go and worship him. Let's hurry over. All below the gods are ants. This time, even if the gods don't go to the eternal divine kingdom, they'll fall. God Lord Guangyi is too overbearing. He actually wants all of us to worship him and make the gods his disciples. But who dares not go? Just as Ao Xie was devouring the divine tomb, everyone in the world flew towards the eternal divine kingdom in the North Pole with solemn expressions. With the words of the God Lord of Light Wing, the eternal divine kingdom had been opened and everyone was going to worship it. Who would dare not go? This time, everyone discovered that the God Lord of Light Wing was much more domineering than the other gods. Back then, even when the gods descended, they did not kill any mortals. And when the God Lord of Light Wing killed Qin Feiyong, the God Lord's successor, tens of thousands of people were killed. It could be seen that the eternal God Lord treated them like ants. Moreover, he even dared to declare that if the gods didn't join the eternal divine kingdom and become disciples, they would be sentenced to death, let alone mortals. After witnessing the terrifying strength of the God Lord Guangyi, everyone had to go to the eternal divine kingdom to worship him. The eternal God Lord was already a mysterious and unknown terrifying existence to them. Billions of people rushed toward the eternal divine kingdom in the South Pole. They had to reach the eternal divine kingdom in 3 days. After 1 day, more and more people gathered around the eternal divine kingdom. The recovery of the spiritual energy had greatly improved the physique of many people. It was not difficult to rush here. In just 1 day, 2 to 3 billion people had gathered around the eternal divine kingdom. Everyone gathered around the eternal divine kingdom and looked at the divine kingdom with reverence in their eyes. So far, it seems that no gods have arrived, right? Some people who had just arrived floated in the sky and looked around, asking in surprise. Gods? Aren't the gods the Dragon King and the Dragon Palace? Xiao Ran from the Dragon Gate Academy is the Dragon King's disciple, so they are naturally together. Then do you think the Dragon King is a match for the God Lord of Light Wings? How can he be a match for the God Lord of Light Wings? Chen Feiyong can only be so terrifying. He even has billions of space locusts, but wasn't he easily killed? Everyone discussed. Now that all the living beings had rushed over, the gods were next. The gods on Earth respected the Dragon King. The Dragon King's attitude might represent the attitude of the other gods. They were all discussing whether the Dragon King would come over and submit. Did the Dragon King have the strength to fight against the God Lord of Lightwing? You may not know about the Eternal God Lord. In the boundless star field, an Eternal God Lord can suppress an entire star field and control at least dozens of planets. With one strike, he can destroy planets. Even if the God Lord of Lightwing hasn't recovered to his peak, ordinary gods cannot fight against him. Chen Feiyong is a good example. Humph, the Dragon King and the others can destroy the gods, but there's a world of difference between the God realm and the Eternal God Lord realm. I dare say that the Dragon King and the others will definitely come. The Dragon King's Dragon Palace's strength is about the same as Chen Feiyong's. If he still wants to live, he will definitely come. The disciples of the Lingxiao Treasured Palace's sacred hall who had come with the gods said one by one. They came from the boundless star field, so they naturally knew the majesty of the Eternal God Lord. Moreover, they didn't have a good impression of the Dragon King or the Dragon Palace. If the Dragon King hadn't destroyed the Lingxiao Treasured Palace or the Sacred Hall, they wouldn't have become ordinary people now because of their powerful background. Some people in the surroundings were slightly silent when they heard their words. The Eternal God Lord, an Eternal God Lord who could easily destroy the inheritor of the God Lord, Chen Feiyong. This time, the Dragon King and the others were probably Some of them looked behind them and then in the direction of the eternal divine kingdom, waiting silently. At this moment, on the highest mountain in the center of the eternal divine kingdom, the God Lord of Light Wings slowly opened his eyes and stood up with his huge body. An endless pressure came from his body, and the bright feathers around him swirled. I'm almost at the peak of the godly state. Chapter 2026 2026 Dragon King. Here it comes. Congratulations, Lord God Lord, your strength has increased once again. Congratulations, Lord God Lord, your strength has recovered. Within the eternal divine kingdom, Sui Yan's illusionary light body kneeled in front of him and bowed respectfully. We are still quite a distance away from recovering to the God Lord realm. However, once we recover to the peak of the God realm, we will be able to open up that mountain guy's divine kingdom. The God Lord raised his head slightly and looked towards the direction outside the divine kingdom. Lord God Lord, everyone on this planet has already rushed over here. I reckon that the entire world will soon gather in front of the divine kingdom and prostrate before you. Sui Yan said respectfully to the God Lord. Oh, why hasn't a single god arrived? The God Lord stared outside with a cold glint in his eyes as he asked indifferently. My lord, all the gods now respect the Dragon King. Perhaps only when the Dragon King arrives will the other gods come. I just don't know if that damn Dragon King will disobey my lord. Sui Yan immediately said, Dragon King? Hee, if they don't come, then I'll use their flesh and blood and resources to recover my strength. The God Lord of Light Wings was full of powerful majesty. He didn't care about the Dragon Palace or the Dragon King at all. It's you, Lord God Lord. Even if we kill them, after we arrive at the Boundless Star area, it's enough to have more than 10 gods from the Fire God Palace to serve you. Sui Yan's eyes sparkled as he said. The God Lord of Light Wings glanced at Sui Yan indifferently. He knew what he was thinking. However, he held his tiger head high and didn't argue with Sui Yan. Right now, everything was focused on recovering his own strength. As long as he recovered to the peak, how could he worry about having no gods to rely on? This time, if a god didn't come, he would treat it as his own food. The spiritual energy on this planet has recovered, and the gods have revived. Many people have obtained quite a lot of opportunities. Go outside and summon some servants to manage my divine kingdom. The God Lord of Light Wings said calmly to Sui Yan. Yes, Lord God Lord. I will do it right away. Sui Yan immediately bowed and nodded. The reason why the God Lord of Light Wings had opened up his divine kingdom and made all the living beings worship him was that he wanted to recruit some servants. All the subordinates who had once followed him in battle had died. Now, the entire divine kingdom was empty, without any living creatures. He needed at least tens of thousands of divine servants to take care of the entire divine kingdom. At the same time, he also needed to make some preparations for his future development. Earth had experienced the recovery of spiritual energy. One by one, the ancient lands of the divine kingdom appeared. This kind of opportunity was incomparably huge in the boundless star field. Under various reasons, countless elites and geniuses would naturally be born. Sui Yan rode on a divine light tiger, and around him were more than 10 divine light tigers. He sat proudly on it and immediately flew out. There's a figure coming out of the eternal divine kingdom. Is it the divine Lord of Light Wings? There's movement in the divine kingdom. Quick, kneel down. At this moment, at the entrance of the eternal divine kingdom, when someone saw a figure coming out of the divine kingdom, they cried out in alarm. Some people even knelt on the ground, their faces filled with reverence. It's Sui Yan, the strongest person in the Fire God Palace. When Sui Yan rode out of the divine kingdom of light, everyone immediately recognized him. 2 to 3 billion people immediately looked at him, their eyes filled with confusion. Lord God Guangi is preparing to recruit 10,000 divine servants into the eternal divine kingdom. Light-attributed people and talented people can join. Upon entering the eternal divine kingdom, you will become the servant of the eternal divine Lord. You will live in the eternal divine kingdom for eternity and enjoy the baptism of the divine kingdom. This will be a great opportunity for you. Those who feel that they are qualified, step onto the steps of light and enter the eternal divine kingdom. Sui Yin rode on top of the divine light tiger. His gaze swept across everyone in front of him as he announced proudly, "Recruiting servants." When everyone heard his words, they were slightly shocked, especially those on earth. Becoming a servant was very difficult for them to accept. Becoming a servant of the eternal God Lord and staying in the eternal divine kingdom forever, is this true? Being able to stay in the eternal divine kingdom forever, this is simply a huge opportunity. This is the eternal God Lord's divine kingdom. Different from some people on earth, the disciples who followed them all revealed excited and passionate expressions. Entering the eternal divine kingdom and living in the divine kingdom forever was simply a huge blessing. This meant that behind him was a divine Lord. In the future, who would dare to provoke him in the boundless star field? I'm willing to join. I'm willing to join. For a moment, one figure after another flew up the stairs of light. "Greetings, Sir Sui Yin. Sir, would you like to see if I have the qualifications to join?" One person after another flew over and knelt in front of Sui Yin. Very quickly, there were several 100,000 people in front of the stairs of light. Among them were former disciples of the Sacred Hall and also former disciples of the Lingshao Treasured Palace. There were even some disciples of the Dragon Gate Academy. If the God Lord of Lightwing suppresses everyone in the future, he will join the eternal divine kingdom and become a divine servant. He will be high and mighty. Not only that, an eternal God Lord has a lifespan of 1,000,000 years. No one will dare to provoke him if he becomes the eternal God Lord's divine servant. At this moment, more people realize this problem. However, it's another story if the Lightwing God Lord can suppress the Dragon King of the Dragon Palace. Will the Dragon King and the others be a match for the Lightwing God Lord? If they aren't a match for him, why didn't the Dragon King and the others rush over to become his divine disciples despite knowing how powerful the Lightwing God Lord is? Seeing more and more people flying over, the commotion around became even greater. Soon, many people began to discuss the Dragon King and the Lightwing God Lord's strength. If the Dragon King of the Dragon Palace and the others don't kneel here, tomorrow will be the day they die. Hearing the discussions in front of them, Sui Yin said confidently. Hearing his words, everyone felt a slight chill in their hearts. More and more people knelt in front of the stairs of light, and Sui Yin picked 10,000 of them. The chosen people followed Sui Yin excitedly, walking toward the eternal divine kingdom. Tomorrow, the divine Lord of Lightwing will probably come out. I wonder if the Dragon King and the others will come over. I wonder if a war will break out. Some people thought to themselves as they stood there and waited quietly. At this moment, in the North Pole's divine tomb, a huge and ferocious body was wreaking havoc in the entire divine kingdom. The divine kingdom, which covered an area of more than 10,000 kilometers, was now in an extremely sorry state. Only 1/10 of the buildings and the mountain peaks remained. I should be able to finish devouring it by tomorrow. I wonder how strong Ao Crab will be? Wang Xian stood at the top of a mountain peak and looked at it with a twinkle in his eyes. He turned around slowly and looked in the direction of the South Pole. Chapter 2027 2027 Dragon King. Here it comes. Ao Crab, Dragon of Devouring. Level, 9 wisps of divine fire. A day passed very quickly. When the entire interior of the divine tomb was completely devoured, Wang Xian looked towards the center. Ao Crab, whose entire body was emitting khaki and black energy, revealed a smile when he looked at its attributes. 9 wisps of divine fire. This is already sufficient. He mumbled. Under the circumstances where the Ao Crab with 9 wisps of divine fire was fighting against someone of a higher level, it was sufficient to be invincible under the Eternal Lord. In fact, he might even be able to fight against the Eternal Lord. Master, it's already the 3rd day. Shall we go over? Xiao Ran walked over and looked at Wang Xian as he asked. Of course we have to go over. Since the god of light wings wants all the gods to go over, let's go and have a look. Wang Xian nodded his head lightly and looked at Lan Qingyue. Bring Xiaolan along. Let's go meet the god of light wings. All right. Lan Qingyue nodded her head. Wang Xian moved his body and flew out of the divine tomb, floating in the sky. Buzz. Name, Wang Xian. Race, Yin-Yang 5 Elements Divine Dragon, Mandragon Unity. Level, 2 Wisps of Divine Fire, 5th Transformation of the Divine Dragon Transformation. Divine Crystal, 542221/1000000000000. Ability, rules the water race below its own level. Devours living things to extract divine crystals. Control of the 5 elements. Cultivation method, divine dragon transformation. Ability, soul absorbing, spirit attaching, Yin-Yang 5 elements dragon eyes. Aspect, 5 elements millstone, dragon kingdom in the palm, dragon head under the sky, dragon body of 10,000 miles, Yin-Yang poles, Yin-Yang 5 elements arms bowl, divine dragon tail swing. Divine kingdom, dragon palace. Dragon palace, level 6. Dragon palace member, 26,633. He had a thought and an attribute appeared in his mind. Looking at his own strength, the corners of his mouth curled up slightly. When Lan Qingyue and the rest obtained a bunch of resources from Chen Feiyang, he lit up the 2nd wisp of divine fire. With 2 wisps of divine fire, he could fight against the god of 8 wisps of divine fire with his full strength. Prime Minister Ge, Ao Xie, and a group of girls stood beside Wang Xian. But at this moment, a black hole the size of 100 kilometers appeared out of thin air behind them. In the black hole, Xiaolan's gigantic body slowly emerged. Let's go to the eternal kingdom of the South Pole. Lan Qingyue touched Xiaolan and said to him, Woo woo. Xiaolan shook her body slightly and opened her huge mouth. Buzz buzz buzz. Roar roar roar. Just as Wang Xian and the rest were about to head to the eternal kingdom of the South Pole, the entire eternal kingdom suddenly trembled. A roar filled with endless majesty rang out. Is the god of light wings coming out? The Dragon King and the rest are still not here. Are they preparing to fight against the god of light wings? 3 days had already passed. At this time, the number of people gathered in front of the eternal divine kingdom had already reached a few billion. Everyone in the world had gathered here. When they saw the divine kingdom tremble and the roar, everyone's hearts trembled slightly. The radiant wing god lord had come out, but not a single god had arrived. Hua hua hua. At this time, on both sides of the entrance of the divine kingdom, divine servants wearing radiant armor quickly ran out and lined up neatly in 2 rows. Their faces were filled with fervor and piety, and even a trace of madness. At this moment, all of them were 2 levels higher than yesterday. This was a promotion given to them by their Lord God. They couldn't help but rejoice that their choice was so correct. The 5,000 people on both sides slightly raised their heads, revealing a trace of arrogance on their faces. From today onwards, they were the eternal God Lord's divine servants. After today, the eternal God Lord would suppress everything, and they would also be above all the living beings in front of them. Everyone was slightly stunned when they saw the divine servants who had joined the eternal divine kingdom yesterday. They felt the great change in their power, and shock appeared on their faces. Is this the benefit of joining the eternal divine kingdom? Everyone will increase by 2 levels in 1 day. Hiss, is this the power of a God Lord? Everyone was extremely shocked, and some of them looked regretful. Voila! Suddenly, the sound of flapping wings could be heard, and the divine servants on both sides immediately knelt on the ground. Lord God Lord Lightwing has arrived, all living beings worship him. A voice sounded from within the divine kingdom, and soon after, a huge figure filled with pressure slowly appeared. Light wings fluttered around him, and a divine crown of light appeared on his head. At this moment, God Lord Lightwing's entire body was filled with an imposing aura, and his mighty divine might enveloped a radius of tens of thousands of kilometers. God Lord Lightwing. Everyone's hearts trembled as they felt this suppressive might that was like a prison. Everyone hurriedly knelt on the ground. 1. God Lord Lightwing landed on the top of the stairs of light, looking down at the billions of people in front of him. His eyes were filled with indifference. In his eyes, these mortals were just ants. None of the gods have arrived. God Lord Guangyi swept his gaze across everyone, his eyes flashing with a hint of coldness. Not a single god had arrived. This was a provocation to him. God Lord Guangyi's first words slightly surprised everyone. The area within a radius of more than 10,000 kilometers was deathly silent, and no one responded. The Dragon King's group had yet to arrive, causing many people to be extremely astonished. Could it be that the Dragon King really had the strength to contend with the Divine Lord of Lightwing? Reporting to the Divine Lord, not a single one of the gods with the Dragon King as their leader has arrived. They dare to disobey the Divine Lord and shall be punished with death. Suiyan followed behind and respectfully reported loudly. Disobeying the Divine Lord shall be punished with death. The tens of thousands of divine servants on both sides also shouted with cold faces. No one can challenge my dignity. A trace of killing intent appeared in the eyes of the God Lord of Lightwing. Everyone instantly felt a chill in their hearts, as if a pair of invisible hands were pressing down on their necks. Next, is the God Lord of Lightwing going to kill the Dragon King and the others? Countless people thought in their minds. But, since the God of Lightwings has invited us, the Dragon Palace will naturally come over. I, the Dragon King, will naturally come over. At this moment, a voice suddenly sounded in the void. Everyone was slightly shocked. They quickly raised their heads and looked up into the sky. This is... Right opposite the God of Lightwings, in the sky above billions of people, a gigantic black hole appeared out of thin air. Inside the black hole, Wang Xian, Guan Shuqing and the other girls, as well as the leaders of the Dragon Palace, strolled out. The Dragon King is here. Is he going to become the disciple of the God of Lightwings? Hiss, the Dragon King is here after all. It seems that the Dragon King is really afraid of the God of Lightwings. Everyone's expression changed slightly when they saw the figures of the Dragon King and the rest. Some of them could not help but mutter. Since you're here, why don't you scram to the front and kneel before us? When Suiyan saw Wang Xian and the rest, he roared with a ferocious expression. The God of Wings of Light also stared at Wang Xian and the rest with a cold gaze. His eyes were filled with indifference. Woo woo. However, when Suiyan's voice had just faded, a deep voice sounded. In the black hole, a gigantic object slowly appeared in everyone's sight. Its 300-kilometer-long body instantly covered the sky of countless people. When the surrounding people saw the Dragon King's figure standing on the huge beast, they were slightly shocked. Was he here to submit? Chapter 2028. 2028 God of War number 2028. Buzz, buzz, buzz. In the sky in front of the eternal kingdom of South Pole, the God of Lightwings was facing Wang Xian and the rest from afar. The surrounding air was somewhat frozen. Everyone could feel a terrifying aura brewing in the middle. Wang Xian and the rest were standing on top of Xiaolan's head. They were staring at the God of Lightwings with smiles on their faces. As for Suiyan, they did not even take a glance at him. Woo woo. Xiaolan stared at the God of Lightwings with her huge eyes and let out a soft roar. A savage aura emanated from her body without the slightest hint of fear. Hiss, that space behemoth is that space behemoth. This is the space behemoth that covered Earth with the space locusts. Oh my God, this space behemoth is actually a member of the Dragon Palace. This space beast. The Dragon King and the others have this terrifying space beast. They are completely qualified to fight against the God Lord of Lightwing. Space Beast, why is the Dragon King leading the Space Beast? This is to fight against the God Lord of Light Wing. Shocked voices came from below. Everyone's faces were filled with shock. Last time, when the space locusts covered the entire Earth, a space behemoth appeared out of nowhere and averted the disaster on Earth. Everyone thought that they were lucky. Now it seemed that this space behemoth was completely a member of the Dragon Palace, a subordinate of the Dragon King. How terrifying was this space behemoth? One thing everyone could be sure of was that it was definitely not weaker than Qin Feiyang, or even stronger. The Dragon King had brought him here with such an attitude, and it was clear that he wanted to fight against the God Lord. Sui Yan looked at the space beast that came out of the black hole, and his eyes widened in shock. When the divine servants who had joined the eternal divine kingdom saw this scene, they looked slightly embarrassed. Space Beast, I didn't expect there to be another space beast on this planet. Lightwing Master was also slightly stunned when he saw Little Blue. In the universe, the most powerful single creature was the Space Beast. Space beasts roamed the space, feeding on all kinds of energy or other space beasts. Each space beast had the power of a god level, and there were very few space beasts less than 5 or 6 wisps of divine fire. Slightly stronger space beasts were comparable to the eternal God Lord's strength. As for those that were stronger, there were some. In the history of the starry skies, space beasts were also known as disaster beasts. As for space locusts, they couldn't become space beasts. They were only space beasts. Haha, but if I absorb the energy of this space beast, I'll definitely be able to obtain a huge recovery. However, all of a sudden, under everyone's astonished gaze, the god of light wings suddenly roared with laughter. Hearing his excited laughter, everyone was slightly stunned. Facing such a terrifying space beast, not only is the god of light wings not worried at all, he is actually very happy. What a strong confidence he has. Everyone's eyes sparkled as they watched. As expected of the former eternal god, he is indeed arrogant. Wang Xian looked at his arrogant manner that did not put anyone in his eyes and said faintly, Used to be. When the god of wings heard Wang Xian's words, the smile on his face stopped abruptly. He stared at Wang Xian with an awe-inspiring and cold gaze. I will make all the gods my disciples. Kneel or die. I will give you 5 seconds to choose. The god of light wings was still staring at Wang Xian and the rest with dignity. DTSK, what an arrogant beast. Eight-limbed Emosha sneered when he saw how arrogant this fellow was and how he ignored everything. Roar, roar, since you have chosen to die, I will fulfill your wish. When the god of light wings heard eight-limbed Emosha's words, killing intent instantly filled his entire body. Do you really think that you can fight against me with the help of the space beasts? It's just a giant beast that is comparable to 8 wisps of divine fire. He raised his head and a pair of huge wings of light unfolded. Roar. With a tiger roar, a tiger head with a radius of more than 100 kilometers attacked Wang Xian and the rest directly. The head of the tiger of light soared into the sky as if it wanted to devour the entire sky. At this moment, the billions of people below revealed a look of fear. This is bad. If we were to fight, even if it was just a small ripple, we wouldn't be able to withstand it. This is bad. In a battle of this level, if some energy were to sweep over, tens of millions of people could be turned into ashes. When everyone saw the radiant wing god attacking, their faces revealed a look of fear. Behind them, countless people hurriedly fled into the distance. TSK, he clearly hasn't recovered to the God Lord realm yet, and he actually dares to call himself a God Lord. Ao Crab saw the radiant tiger head that was attacking them, and a trace of coldness appeared on his face. His body trembled, and a dragon head of a devouring dragon instantly condensed in the sky. The dragon head was incomparably savage, and it was also 100 kilometers in size. It was filled with an evil aura. Dragon head versus tiger head. Ao Crab versus God Lord Lightwing. Roar. 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 The dragon roared and the tiger roared. The two enormous dragon heads of the devouring dragon clashed against God Lord Lightwing's tiger head, tearing at it madly. In an instant, waves of terrifying light energy and dark earth elemental energy shot out in all directions. The battle erupted. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Little Blue's body shook, and streaks of earthen yellow energy appeared below, enveloping everyone below. Boom, boom, boom. Countless amounts of energy landed on the energy barrier and were completely blocked. It was the Dragon King and the others who blocked the shock waves of the battle. The Dragon King is still on Earth. Regardless of whether Earth enters the boundless star field or encounters danger in the chaotic region, it was the Dragon King and the others who took care of it. I hope the Dragon King can defeat the God Lord of Lightwing. Look, the one who took action is the Dragon King's subordinate. He blocked the God Lord of Lightwing's attack. When everyone below saw this scene, they heaved a heavy sigh of relief. They looked up into the sky and saw the enormous dragon head and tiger head colliding. The tiger head was actually torn open with huge wounds. Oh! God Lord Lightwing's pupils constricted slightly when he saw the scene in the sky. His gaze was fixed on Ao Crab. You are actually able to withstand my attack. It seems that you really do have some strength. However, the stronger you are, the better. This means that after I kill you, I will be able to recover even faster. God Lord Lightwing's entire body revealed a sinister expression. Waves of light energy trembled on his body. A terrifying radiance covered half the sky. The Dragon King and the others are very powerful. However, you have completely angered God Lord Lightwing. You are finished. You are finished. When Suiyan saw that the Dragon King and the others were actually able to block God Lord Lightwing's attack, his expression changed slightly. However, very quickly, he growled with a malevolent expression. Chapter 2029 2029 Under the God of War. Kill the Dragon King and the others. The Lord God is invincible. How can a Dragon King be a match for the Lord God? Wait for your death. On both sides of the stairs of light, 10,000 divine servants were slightly shocked when they saw the powerful attacks of the Dragon King and the others. However, soon after, they roared ferociously. They had joined the Eternal Life Divine Kingdom and become the divine servants of the God Lord of Lightwing. Naturally, they hoped that the God Lord of Lightwing could kill the Dragon King and the others. They hoped that the God Lord of Lightwing could suppress the entire planet and lead them into the boundless star field to suppress an area. The God Lord of Lightwing is invincible. He killed the small fry of the Dragon Palace. Suiyan roared loudly. The God Lord of Lightwing is invincible. He killed the small fry of the Dragon Palace. The rest of the divine servants followed suit and roared. God Lord Lightwing's body was emitting a powerful and terrifying pressure. His huge body slightly bent, and in an instant, he pounced toward toward Little Blue. His enormous wings, divine crown, and terrifying pressure. This leap of his was filled with invincible power. Little Blue, pull him into the Kuan region. Lan Qingyue immediately ordered Little Blue. By pulling him into the Kuan region, they would be able to gain the upper hand and prevent the battle from affecting the people below. If they were to really fight, just the aftershocks of the battle would be enough to kill everyone below. Wang. Woo woo woo. Little Blue looked at God Lord Lightwing who was charging over. His body trembled slightly, and a terrifying black hole appeared in front of him. A powerful suction force was transmitted over. This is... God Lord Lightwing's body shone brightly, wanting to resist the suction force of the Kuan region. He struggled with all his might, and his incomparably powerful strength caused his body to remain motionless. Come in. Ao Qitian, Ao Xingmu, Ao Qi, and the others looked at each other and roared wildly. One chain after another, one thorn after another, a total of 11 berserk dragon species and 4 starwood dragon species pulled toward God Lord Lightwing. Even though their strength was only comparable to the 4 wisps of divine fire, it was still a considerable disturbance to the god of light wings. The divine kingdom's domain? Even if I enter, what can you do to me? The god of light wings moved his body and entered the Kuan region. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. In an instant, Wang Xian and the rest entered the Kuan region as well. Everything in the sky vanished instantly. This situation is exactly the same as when Chen Feiyang wanted to suppress him for an entire lifetime. He disappeared. Where did the space beast take them? Why did he suddenly disappear? Do you guys think that the Dragon King and the rest are a match for the God of Light Wings? I still support the Dragon King to defeat the God of Light Wings. I don't know. But since they were able to bring him into the void, the Dragon King and the rest are definitely not weak. Voices of discussion came from below. Some timid people took advantage of this opportunity and quickly hid far away. The entire eternal divine kingdom was in chaos. The Lord God is invincible. Suyen and the divine servants only stared at the void, their faces slightly malevolent. Everyone scattered around and waited quietly. Roar. At the same time, in the Kuan region, the god of light wings scanned the entire space with a cold expression. Is this the divine kingdom territory of the space behemoth? The god of light wings' face was filled with a dense aura as he stared coldly at Wang Xian and the rest. A fallen god lord is not recovering properly. Now, he wants us to become your divine disciples. Then this time I will let you die completely. Wang Xian stared at the god of light wings with a cold look in his eyes. A god master who had yet to recover to his peak wanted to enslave them. My light wings have been conquering the void for hundreds of thousands of years. Today, I will add your blood to my eternal divine map. The god of light wings spread his enormous wings and flapped them slightly. A divine map of light slowly appeared on his back. On the divine diagram, there was the image of a godly tiger. Below the godly tiger, countless creatures were kneeling and worshipping. In the middle, there was a gigantic blood pool. The blood pool was emitting a strong bloody smell. The entire divine diagram was gigantic and had a radius of more than 100 kilometers. The god of light leaped into the air and attacked Wang Xian and the rest directly. The divine map of light revolved around the surroundings, emitting a strong power of light. Tithisuke, let me experience your strength. Roar, roar. Ao Crab leaped forward from Xiaolan's body. His body immediately transformed into a ferocious devouring dragon. His entire body was filled with sharp thorns and bones. His ferocious tail swept towards the god of light wings. You're courting death. God Lord Lightwing also wagged his tail. The divine map of light spun, and streams of energy poured into the tiger's tail. Boom! A terrifying collision was heard, and God Lord Lightwing's face was filled with confidence and arrogance. His strength had recovered to 9 wisps of divine fire, and with the help of the divine map of Light Wing, his natal artifact, he felt that he was invincible under the Eternal Master. Facing the ferocious Ao Crab in front of him, he was not worried at all. However, when he collided with the Ao Crab, his expression suddenly changed. The collision between the dragon tail and the tiger tail did not send the opponent flying, even with the support of the divine map. Instead, an intense pain came from the tiger tail. At this moment, the incomparably ferocious devouring dragon head directly bit towards him. God Lord Lightwing also roared loudly. The divine light diagram draped over his body, and the God Lord on the divine light diagram bit towards Ao Crab. Crack, crack, crack. When the divine tiger on the divine light diagram bit Ao Crab, a series of cracking sounds rang out. The God Lord's expression changed slightly. How is this possible? Your strength. At this moment, his expression changed slightly. He flapped his wings slightly and 2 enormous wings of light slashed towards Ao Crab. Boom, boom. Ao Crab also flapped his enormous wings of bone to meet the wings of light. A violent collision sounded and the wings of light disappeared instantly. Ao Crab raised his sharp dragon claws and clawed towards the body of the God Lord of Light Wings. Light Wing Divine Map, cover my body. The Light Wing Divine Master roared and covered his body with the divine map. The creatures on the map raised their hands, and a terrifying shield of light condensed in front of them. Purng! The dragon claw landed on the divine map, but there was no fluctuation at all. Damn it, you are a beast, how can you have such terrifying strength? The Light Wing Divine Master's face was extremely ugly at this time. The arrogance and confidence that he had in his hands had completely disappeared. He opened his huge mouth and a terrifying flare of light shot towards Ao Crab. Today, I, Ao Crab, will definitely kill you. When Ao Crab heard his words, his entire body shot out a terrifying killing intent. Similarly, he opened his savage dragon mouth and shot out an attack covered in black spots. Boom! The sound of an explosion rang out again. Chapter 2030. 2030. The 2030 Dragon Palace was invincible in this world and could sweep through all enemies. The short-term attack was completely evenly matched. Ao Crab was very strong and could almost fight 2 levels above him. However, the God of Light Wings could not be treated with common sense. The most terrifying thing was the divine map of Light Wings on the God of Light Wings. It was once an eternal God-level divine artifact. Even though its power had decreased, it could still be considered invincible below the eternal God level. Xiaolan, let's fight. Wang Xian's eyes flickered as he watched the battle between Ao He and the God of Wings. With Ao He's strength, he might not be able to kill the God of Wings in a short period of time. Xiao Xian, be careful. The group of girls immediately said. With the current strength of the Dragon Palace, the only ones who could participate in the battle were Wang Xian, Xiaolan, and Ao He. The rest of Ao Qitian and the others were only comparable to the gods with 4 wisps of divine fire. Roar! Wang Xian let out a furious roar. His entire body immediately turned into a few thousand meters in size. His 7-colored body was flickering with light. But his body trembled. Behind him, the Dragon Palace slowly appeared behind him. The 5 elements grinding mill was suspended high above his head while the Yin-Yang Tai Chi was suspended below him. Dragon Palace, boost. 5 elements, extinguish the long river. Wang Xian let out a furious roar. Streams of extinguishing long river headed straight for the God of Light Wings. But at this moment, the entire Kuan region suddenly trembled. An invisible gray energy was suppressing the God of Light Wings. Damn it, there are actually 2 gods who are comparable to 8 wisps of divine fire. The strength of you bunch of damn fellows is really beyond my expectations. However, you still have to die. Light Wing Divine Map, strengthen my body. The God Lord of Light Wing roared, and the 100-kilometer divine map slowly entered his body. His body expanded again, directly becoming 50 kilometers in size. Even Ao Crab looked much weaker in front of him. Buzz. But at this time, Ao Crab's body also trembled. Dragon Palace buff. A level 6 Dragon Palace could increase the offensive power of a member of the Dragon Palace by 10 times. This 10 times could give Ao Crab almost 100% of the strength to fight against the Eternal God Lord. Roar! Ao Crab roared, and his body also transformed into dozens of kilometers in size as he attacked the God Lord. The river of destruction swept over, and the suppression of the Kuan region descended. What? God Lord Lightwing's expression changed once more when he saw Ao Crab's strength increase once more. He stared at the river of annihilation in front of him, then waved his enormous wings. Whoosh! Light swept past, and the river of annihilation dissipated. He then leaped forward and bit at Ao Crab. At this moment, a gray energy pressed down on his body, causing his momentum to slow down slightly. At this moment, Ao Crab's sharp dragon claws landed heavily on the head of the god of Lightwing. Roar! An intense pain was emitted from the god of Lightwing's mouth. Numerous wounds appeared on his head. 5 elements trap, chains. Wang Xian stood in the distance, swaying his huge body as he shouted again. The 5 elements chains headed towards the god of Lightwing. But at the same time, the entire Kuan region trembled gently once again. A powerful force landed on the body of the god of Light Wings once again. The pressure of the Kuan region was as though the god of Light Wings was constantly supporting Xiao Lan's body in battle. With Xiao Lan's body size of 300 kilometers, one could imagine how terrifying the pressure was. Even though his strength was almost invincible below the eternal God Lord, this force still placed a huge restriction on him. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Chains covered the sky as they wrapped around God Lord Lightwing. With his white body and bloody wounds on his head, God Lord Lightwing looked somewhat savage. You bunch of damnable fellows, I'm the eternal God Lord, and you actually injured me. God Lord Lightwing, who was high up in the sky, was injured as he roared in a somewhat berserk manner. This is only the beginning. Ao Crab's enormous body flew over. His savage dragon head, terrifying dragon claws, and sharp-boned spikes pounced over. Whoosh! God Lord Lightwing shook hard, and the 5 elemental chains around him instantly collapsed. He stared at Ao Crab with his blood-red eyes. Roar! With a wild roar, the countless light wings around him transformed into divine light tigers. Each divine tiger was 10 meters in size, and they pounced densely on Ao Crab. Ka ka ka! Ao Crab's gaze swept across the densely packed light bodies, and his body was also awe-inspiring. Within his dragon scales, many small devouring dragons crawled out, their blood-red eyes staring at the divine light tigers. Roar, roar, roar! 20,000 to 30,000 small devouring dragons directly bit towards the divine light tigers. Ao Crab continued to charge forward, his dragon tail sweeping out. The terrifying dragon tail even caused the entire Kuan region to tremble. Light praise, tiger tail blessing. The God Lord of Light Wings' expression changed slightly, and his tiger tail raised high. Wang wang wang. The sounds of praise rang out around him, and countless phantoms floated around him. Waves of powerful light energy poured into the tiger tail. The second collision. Hong! The tiger's tail, which was blessed by billions of creatures, collided with Ao Crab once again. Crack, crack. A cracking sound was heard. The moment the tiger's tail collided with Ao Crab, it bent slowly. The dragon's tail continued to entangle him. The praises of billions of creatures around him dissipated instantly. What? At this moment, the expression of the god of wings of light finally changed drastically. A look of panic appeared on his face. Yin-Yang 5 Elemental Spear. At this moment, Wang Xian, who was floating by the side, emitted a bright and miserable glow. The 5 elemental grinding above his head emitted a 5-colored divine light. The yin-yang poles beneath his body emitted a black and white aurora. A spear condensed and was over 10 kilometers long. It directly attacked the god of light wings. Boom! In just an instant, the god of light wings, whose tail was injured by the tiger, was instantly struck by the yin-yang 5 elemental spear. This attack was Wang Xian's strongest attack at the moment. It contained 7 attributes, and its penetrative and offensive power had reached its peak. The yin-yang 5 element spear penetrated into the winged god's abdomen and only penetrated about 1 to 2 kilometers. My strength is still 1 or 2 levels lower than him. Wang Xian shook his head slightly when he saw that his full-strength attack had only caused such damage. Of course, he did not intend to seriously injure his opponent. With his strength, it was impossible for him to do so. You ant, you deserve to die. The god of light wings was in pain. He pounced at Wang Xian with a ferocious expression. But at this moment, the Kuan region trembled again. The gray energy landed on his body, causing his body to tremble again. You are the one who deserves to die. If you want to attack our Dragon King, you have to go through me, Ao Crab. Ao Crab swayed his body and his dragon tail wrapped around him. Two huge dragon claws clawed at him crazily. In an instant, blood gushed out. Chapter 2031. 2031. The 2031 Dragon Palace was unrivaled in this world, and it swept through all enemies. Ao Ao. Agonized screams rang out within the Kuan region. God Lord Lightwing swayed his enormous body, and a terrifying light shot out in all directions. The divine crown above his head rose, striking towards Ao Crab. Boom! The terrifying strike caused Ao Crab to loosen his dragon tail and dodge to the side. Roar! He opened his mouth, and a terrifying black earth-colored energy tide charged towards God Lord Lightwing. God Lord Lightwing was sent flying backwards by the energy tide. Blood began to seep out of his mouth. At this moment, his eyes revealed a hint of terror. At this moment, he sensed the threat of death. Damn it, damn it. He shook his body in panic. He knew that he had been careless. He should not have entered this domain. He had never imagined that there would be creatures on this planet that could contend with him and even injure him. If he continued to fight, he might be heavily injured or even die. Leave this domain or I might die. God Lord Lightwing thought to himself with an extremely ugly expression. He glanced warily at Ao Crab, then turned around and fled to the back. Want to escape? Aren't you the invincible eternal God Lord? Didn't you want us to become your disciples? Why are you fleeing now? Ao Crab said mockingly when he saw that God Lord Lightwing was actually trying to escape. His body moved, shaking his enormous body as he directly charged towards the attack. As long as I leave this place, without the suppression of this space behemoth divine kingdom, I might not necessarily be a match for that monster. God Lord Lightwing's eyes flickered with light as he fled towards the void behind him. Purng. However, when he flew 500 kilometers, he suddenly seemed to hit an invisible barrier. The expression of the God of Wings of Light changed instantly. Die! Behind him, Ao Crab's terrifying dragon tail swept out once again. The God of Wings of Light, who was already hit, could not dodge in time. The dragon tail landed on the body of the God of Wings of Light, causing him to fall directly into the void. At this moment, Wang Xian's 5 Elements Annihilation River was attacking him. But the Obliteration River landed on his body, causing his body to tremble. More blood flowed out from his wound. Even if the 5 Elements Obliteration River could not injure him, it could still make him feel extremely uncomfortable. There was Ao Crab who could not be defeated even if he fought him alone. There were 2 races at the peak of the universe, the 7-colored divine dragon and the Kuan. Under such circumstances, he felt extremely aggrieved. Entering Little Blue's Kuan region, he couldn't even teleport. No, I have to get out. God Lord Lightwing felt the intense pain on his body. His tiger body shook, and the divine map of light that covered his body slowly rose. Wang Wang Wang. All the creatures in the divine map seemed to have revived. They walked out from the divine map and stood behind it. The billions of creatures on the divine map sat cross-legged on the ground, murmuring and worshipping piously. Under the blessing of the billions of creatures, a light barrier rose up. At the same time, God Lord Lightwing's tiger palm directly attacked the area in front of him. The entire Kuan region trembled slightly, and cracks appeared in front of him. Woo woo woo. Xiao Lan sensed the collapse of the Kuan region. With a roar, the cracks began to slowly heal. God Lord Lightwing, don't even think about escaping. TSK, I've never killed a God Lord before. You can be the first. Ao Crab looked over and shook his body as he charged towards the divine map. Boom. The terrifying collision caused the billions of living beings below the divine map to instantly dissipate. Roar. His dragon head directly bit towards the divine diagram. Below, half of the living beings of the divine diagram died. Damn it, this planet has only just recovered its spiritual energy. How can there be such a terrifying existence? God Lord Guangi couldn't help but roar wildly. He shot out vast amounts of light energy from his mouth and attacked the Kuan region once more. Ka ka ka. Cracks appeared once more. Crash. However, behind him, the sound of the light shield formed by the divine diagram collapsing could be heard. Oh no! His expression changed greatly, and he hurriedly dodged to the side. However, Ao Crab's dragon claw had already arrived, and it landed directly on God Lord Lightwing's chest. The terrifying sharp dragon claw directly entered God Lord Lightwing's body. God Lord Lightwing was once again heavily injured. No. Light heal. Light life force. God Lord Lightwing roared, and the injuries on his body quickly healed. At the same time, the tiger palm attacked Ao Crab. Roar. Ao Crab opened his mouth wide and bit the tiger palm into his mouth. His sharp teeth, which were strong enough to bite through an eternal divine kingdom, were immediately broken. A painful sound was heard. The face of the god of wings of light began to twist. Roar. A stream of bright energy spewed out from his ferocious face as he charged toward Ao Crab. Ao Crab's two gigantic bone wings blocked the front and completely blocked his attack. Don't let him escape. At this moment, Wang Xian saw the god of wings of light desperately trying to escape. He immediately spoke to Ao Crab. Ao Crab's gigantic dragon head went straight for the god of light wings. At this moment, the god of light wings completely ignored the attacks from the back. At this moment, if he did not escape, he would be done for. He continued to bite. His eyes were blood red as he charged forward once again. Crack, crack, crack. The sound of the Kuan region shattering was heard. His eyes revealed a look of hope. Ao. However, at this moment, a pain that was almost tearing his body apart came over. Half of his body was bitten directly. He felt as if his body was about to break. Bang! In front of him, the Kuan region was completely torn apart. Slowly, the world that was like a black hole began to collapse. Can you escape? Wang Xian smiled when he saw the god of light wings being bitten. He moved and transformed into a human form before landing on Xiaolan's body. The world below gradually appeared in front of everyone. At this moment, countless people were scattered around. When they saw the scene in the sky, it was as though space had been shattered. Everyone widened their eyes and looked up at the sky in shock. A gigantic head appeared out of thin air above them. It's the God Lord. It's our God Lord. Ha! The God Lord has killed all of them. The God Lord has come out. Could it be that our God Lord has won? When Suiyan and the 10,000 divine servants saw the gigantic head appear out of thin air, their faces were filled with excitement. They roared loudly. When the others saw the head appear out of thin air and heard Suiyan's excited roars, their faces were filled with shock. Could it be? Chapter 2032. 2032. The 2032 Dragon Palace was invincible in this world and could sweep through all enemies. Could it be that the Dragon King and the others were really killed by the God Lord of Light Wings? Everyone looked at the huge head that appeared out of thin air, and their faces were filled with shocks. The God Lord of Light Wings was about to come out, which meant that nothing had happened to him. Then, just as everyone was guessing in their hearts, Suiyan and the tens of thousands of divine servants were filled with excitement and excitement. The God Lord with his head poking out let out a miserable shriek that shook the world. Everyone was shocked and widened their eyes. Crack, crack, crack. The sky above them collapsed like glass. The Kuan region had completely disappeared, and a shocking scene appeared. At this moment, the God Lord's body was bitten by an incomparably large and ferocious creature. A large amount of blood covered his snow-white body. One of his tiger palms had completely disappeared, and a rich bloody smell filled the entire starry sky. Behind God Lord Lightwing, the Dragon King and the others stood in front of the space behemoth. Kiki, why are you running? God Lord Lightwing, didn't you want us to become your disciples? Why are you running? Eight-limbed demon Sha and the others' mocking voices rang out. God Lord Lightwing shook his enormous body violently, trying to break free from Ao Crab's bite. However, as a devouring dragon, Ao Crab's most powerful part was his teeth and his dragon head. How could he break free so easily? He let out a furious roar. Everyone below was completely stunned when they heard the voices of the eight-limbed Masha and the others. They were especially shocked when they saw the Lightwing God Lord being bitten by the Dragon King's subordinates. This wasn't the Lightwing God Lord killing the Dragon King and the others. It was the Lightwing God Lord trying to escape. This is impossible. This is absolutely impossible. Lord Lightwing is a God Lord. This is a God Lord that can suppress an entire lifetime in the endless star field. Even if Lord God Lord hasn't recovered to his peak, he is definitely not someone an ordinary god can contend against. At this moment, Suiyin was somewhat absent-minded. As a god that had descended here, as an expert of the endless star field, he naturally knew how powerful God Lord Lightwing was. Even if he hadn't recovered to his peak, with his current strength, he was still the strongest existence in the endless star field apart from the 5 God Lords. As long as he had some resources, God Lord Lightwing would become the 6th space expert in the endless star field. But now, he was defeated by the people of the Dragon Palace. How could this be? Gulp. On both sides of the stairs of light, the tens of thousands of divine servants looked at the scene in the sky in a daze. Cold sweat appeared on their heads. They opened their mouths and felt that the sky was dark. At this moment, an incomparably shrill scream came from the sky. Under everyone's shocked gazes, the God of Wings struggled with all his might. His body was torn apart. There was only one head and 2 legs. Half of his body broke free and quickly fled towards the eternal divine kingdom below. Roar! Ao Crab let out a low roar. His head bit onto the half of the God of Lightwing's body and swept towards Wang Xian and the rest. Do you think you can hide just by entering the eternal kingdom? His body moved and he quickly chased after the front half of the God of Lightwing's body. He dived towards the eternal kingdom below. But in the sky, the blood of the God of Lightwing spilled onto the ground like rain. His body, which was over 100 kilometers long, rapidly shrank. When he entered the eternal divine kingdom, the entire eternal divine kingdom instantly flashed with the power of lights. Ah! The light flashed, and a repulsive force repelled Suiyin and the other divine servants. God Lord Lightwing sealed the entire eternal divine kingdom. The divine servants who were repelled let out a miserable shriek, their faces blank. Do you think you can stop me with your divine kingdom? Ao Crab's eyes were cold as he roared at God Lord Guangwing. His huge dragon claws clawed at the sky above the eternal divine kingdom. A terrifying force landed on the divine kingdom, causing a huge crack to appear on the light barriers. In the eternal divine kingdom, God Lord Guangwing watched this scene in shock. His face was filled with fear. How is this possible? How can there be such a terrifying existence in such a small planet? I, Guangyi, have waited for hundreds of thousands of years to be resurrected. It was not easy for me to wait for this opportunity to be resurrected. I am not willing to accept this. He looked at the crack in the eternal kingdom. When he saw Ao Crab charging in, his face was filled with despair. Let's go, we'll go too. Wang Xian's figure moved as he spoke to Guan Shuqing, Lan Qingyue, and the rest. Immediately, he flew into the eternal kingdom. Roar, roar, give me a chance. Give me a chance. I can give this eternal kingdom to you guys. Don't kill me. Wang Xian had just entered when he heard the God of Lightwing's roar with a face full of fear. Tee, if I kill you, this eternal kingdom will naturally belong to us. Ao Crab said coldly, and his enormous body attacked once more. No, no, I am willing to become your divine servant. Don't kill me. God Lord Lightwing couldn't help but beg for mercy when he saw Ao Crab charging over. Mimi? You still call yourself me in front of us? You better die. Ao Crab's enormous dragon head directly bit towards God Lord Lightwing's tiger head. He was already severely injured. Without half of his strength, there was no way he could block Ao Crab's attack. Ao Crab bit on the head of the god of wings of light. At the same time, a destructive darkness and earth attribute covered his head. Roar. A muffled voice filled with despair rang out. The life force of the god of wings of light had completely dissipated. Wang Xian and the rest looked at this scene indifferently. A faint smile appeared on their faces. Put away the body of the god of wings of light. This is a huge amount of resources. Wang Xian ordered the members of the Dragon Palace. It's the Dragon King. The members of the Dragon Palace nodded excitedly. Move all the treasures of the Eternal Kingdom into the Dragon Palace. Killing the god of light wings was another significant amount of resources. These resources should be able to increase the number of godly state experts in the Dragon Palace. Apart from that, the body of the god of light wings should be enough for Ao Qitian and the rest to upgrade to at least 5 to 6 wisps of divine fire. At that time, the high-end combat strength of the Dragon Palace would also increase a little. Wang Xian and the rest were full of smiles. Chen Fiang, who was standing at the side, watched this scene silently. An eternal god who could easily kill him was now easily killed by the Dragon King and the rest. He could not help but feel fortunate that he did not go to the Dragon Palace to provoke the Dragon King last time. Otherwise, he would have been killed. Chapter 2033. 2033. The boundless gods were waiting. The god of light wings is dead. With that scream, the god of light wings is dead. Hiss, it seems like he's really dead. The Dragon King and the others killed the god of light wings. The Dragon King and the Dragon Palace are simply too powerful. The god of light wings could easily kill Chen Feiyang, but he still ended up dying in the hands of the Dragon King and the others. This god Lord Guangyi was so arrogant that he made us all come and worship him. He made all the gods his disciples, but in the end he was killed by the Dragon King's Dragon Palace. Is he no longer arrogant? When everyone heard the god Lord Guangyi's miserable screams coming from the eternal divine kingdom, they all had gloating expressions on their faces. The god Lord Guangyi made all the living beings come and worship him. They didn't dare to disobey him, so everyone came. But he had arrogantly made the Dragon King and the others his disciples, and now, he must have been killed. No one had a good impression of the Divine Lord. Seeing them as ants, they naturally wanted to see the Divine Lord die. Lord Suiyan, what should we do? On the steps of light, when the tens of thousands of divine servants heard the screams of the eternal God Lord's death, they were completely dumbfounded. Now that their master was dead, what could they do? What could they do? Moreover, would the Dragon King kill all of them next? What should we do? What should we do? At this moment, Suiyan was a little broken. He murmured and looked a little absent-minded. From being destroyed by the Dragon King in the Fire God Palace, to obtaining opportunities in the Eternal Divine Kingdom, to leading a group of divine tigers of light to take revenge, his body was damaged. Now that the Eternal Lord was killed, he had completely collapsed. What was he going to use to seek revenge against the Dragon King? But at this moment, the Eternal Kingdom opened up once again. A strong force of light was emitted from it. Under the cover of the light, Wang Xian led a group of members of the Dragon Palace out. Wang Xian looked at Suiyan in front of him indifferently. His eyes revealed a hint of coldness. Get rid of them, Wang Xian said to his subordinates from the Dragon Palace. But as soon as he finished his sentence, Ba Qi and Emo Sha waved their arms. Waves of demonic aura engulfed Suiyan and the divine servants. Dragon King, don't be arrogant. One day, you will be killed too. This day will come very soon. Very soon. Suiyan felt the threat of death and roared with a ferocious face. When the demonic aura covered him, his body of light slowly dissipated. The last drop of divine blood was completely dead. The 10,000 divine servants didn't even let out a scream when the demonic aura swept past them. The eternal kingdom is now open. In 1.5 years, the Dragon Palace will take back this eternal kingdom. Wang Xian's gaze swept across the billions of people in front of him. His voice entered their minds. Let's go. After he finished speaking, he spoke to Guan Shuqing and the rest around him. Everyone landed on Xiao Lan's body and left immediately. All the disciples and students of the Dragon Gate Academy, come here. I will bring all of you to the center of the eternal divine kingdom to cultivate. This is the divine kingdom of the eternal God Lord. Although it was damaged after the fall of the God Lord, the spiritual energy contained in it is still extremely terrifying. Especially for light attribute cultivators, a day of training here is equivalent to 100 days in the outside world. If you are lucky, you might have a chance to ignite the divine fire. Xiao Ran and Ji Lingfei did not leave. The two of them spoke to all the disciples and students of Dragon Gate Academy. The opening of the eternal divine kingdom was a huge opportunity for everyone. Naturally, Xiao Ran and the others first allowed the disciples of the Dragon Gate Academy to enter. After training here for a year, the overall strength of the Dragon Gate Academy would definitely rise by a level. Enter the eternal divine kingdom to train. Everyone's faces revealed an excited expression when they heard this news, especially the disciples and students of the Dragon Gate Academy. The Dragon King is still treating us well. As a local of our Earth, the Dragon King really has nothing to say about how he treats us. That's right. If it weren't for the Dragon King, we wouldn't know what would have happened. We would support the Dragon King. After the Dragon Palace destroyed the eternal God Lord, no one on Earth would be able to compete with him. Up until now, all the gods who had descended and awakened, except for those who had joined the Dragon Gate Academy, have all been destroyed by the Dragon King. The Dragon Palace is truly invincible in this world, sweeping away all enemies. Everyone was discussing happily. The death of the Radiant Wing God Lord this time meant that the Dragon Palace was truly invincible in this world, sweeping away all enemies. Next, no one would dare to offend the Dragon King and the Dragon Palace. After a world-shaking war ended, everyone had a premonition that it would be peaceful next. Even the resurrected God Lord had been destroyed by the Dragon King. Who else would dare to challenge the dignity of the Dragon Palace? In the next few days, everything returned to normal. Wang Xian and the Dragon Palace had destroyed God Lord Guangyi this time, elevating their dignity to the peak. Countless television stations were broadcasting the glory of the Dragon King. Countless people were praising the deeds of the Dragon King. There were even people who compiled the deeds of the Dragon King into a book and spread it widely. Basically, everyone had a book on the deeds of the Dragon King. When Wang Xian saw the contents of the book from Guan Shuqing and the rest, he was a little embarrassed. He had never thought that he was so powerful. Just when the Earth was peaceful and even more prosperous, in the distant star field. The entire star field was emitting a faint white light. 5 huge suns and stars stood in the entire star field, illuminating an area of several thousand light years. In this star field, the spiritual energy was abundant. 700 to 800 life planets were located in this star field. The entire star field was magnificent and magical. In the star field, there was a starry sea, a void forest, and a meteorite belt. All kinds of magical things formed a huge star area, the boundless star area. Our Fire God Palace's last expert, God Swain, died a few days ago. Damn it. I wonder what happened in the recovery place. At this moment, in the boundless star area and a void space where even sunlight couldn't reach, an old man on a fiery red sharp sword said with a cold face. Around him, there were many huge beasts, splendid covers, and vast figures. They were floating in the void, looking in the direction of the void. From the figures and the eye-catching flags, it could be seen that they were the 5 forces. The skyscraping treasured palace, the Fire God Palace, the pyramid, the holy church, and the boundless sea of stars. Although the 5 forces weren't the strongest forces in the boundless star field, they could still be considered to be ranked in the top ranks below the 5 great godlords. More than 10 years ago, the 5 great forces had used their divine artifacts to sense the spiritual energy fluctuations in the distant starry sky and sent the gods there. But now, one bad news after another kept coming. Chapter 2034. 2034, the gods of the boundless universe were waiting. The gods of the pyramid have no news of us. Even the divine seat has been split open. The gods of the boundless universe can't be contacted either. They should have fallen as well. Your pyramid was completely destroyed by the resurrected gods and evil spirits. As for the boundless universe, only one god has successfully descended. It's normal for him to have fallen, but your fire god palace's throne has been destroyed by some dragon king. That's not a dragon king, but the leader of a powerful force. Our last news was that our holy church and the Lingxiao treasured palace had almost been destroyed when they joined forces. The gods who survived took out all their resources to raise a resurrected god, an existence with 6 wisps of divine fire. After preparing for revenge, there was no more news. He should have died in the hands of the Dragon King. Numerous figures floated in the air, their bodies exuding an extremely terrifying aura. Everyone's expressions weren't very good, their solemn auras causing the surrounding void to freeze. The voice resounded in the ears of every single figure. Zhanlingan, what news does your Lingxiao treasured palace have? The divine beast of light pulled a huge canopy carriage, and an old man who was covered in the power of light stood on it. He held the scepter of light in his hand and asked a burly middle-aged man indifferently. The burly middle-aged man held a war hammer in his hand. His body was emitting a terrifying fighting spirit. He looked at the wrinkled old man beside him. There is still a member of our Lingxiao treasured palace who is still alive. However, she has betrayed us. The wrinkled old man said indifferently with a cold and gloomy face. Betrayed? The surrounding gods raised their eyebrows and revealed a mocking expression. However, I can still contact her. When I do, I can see her current location through the astral divine disk. The old man said indifferently. When he saw the expressions of the surrounding gods, a cold expression flashed through his eyes. Then I'll trouble elderly to lock onto that planet's location. A god standing on the pyramid said to the old man. All right. The elder nodded and immediately took out a mirror. Buzz. The mirror trembled. At this moment, Ji Lingfei, who was far away on Earth, had a slight change in expression. She awkwardly took out a mystical mirror from her interspatial ring. Beside her were Xiao Ran, Lu Mingxin, Qin Feiyang, and Sun Lingxiu. The group was cultivating in the eternal divine kingdom at the South Pole. What's the matter, Lingfei? Xiao Ran looked at the mirror and asked her with concern. It's a message from my master, my master. Ji Lingfei looked a little embarrassed. It's okay, open it. Sun Lingxiu said to her. Okay. Ji Lingfei nodded, waved her arm, and the mirror opened. Disciple, tell me about the situation on that planet. When the mirror opened, the old man's face appeared. With a dignified expression, he ordered Ji Lingfei. Master, you've nurtured me into a god. Over the years, I've brought you enough benefits and resources. In the future, treat me as if I don't exist. When Ji Lingfei saw the old man, her body trembled. Gritting her teeth, she said directly. She was filled with gratitude towards her master, who had nurtured her into a god. However, all these years, everything she had done was already enough to repay him. However, when faced with her master treating her as a chess piece, her heart was incomparably cold. She might as well end it. Vile disciple, I can give you all of this, and I can also take all of it away from you. When the old man heard his words, an unconcealed killing intent appeared on his face as he coldly shouted at her. After he had said that, he hung up the mirror and the image disappeared. Hearing her master's words, Ji Lingfei bit her lips, her eyes slightly red. Lingvei, it's okay. I'm here. Xiao Ran walked over and gently put his arm around her shoulder, comforting her in a low voice. Hall Master. In the endless star area, the old man looked at the burly middle-aged man and bowed slightly. The gods of all the forces around them all looked in their direction, their eyes shining. They had to get everything on that planet. Especially when they found out that there was a divine tomb there, it made them a little crazy. The divine tomb was the divine kingdom of the eternal God Lord. If they could get the inheritance inside, they would have a chance to become the eternal God Lord. They would truly stand at the peak of this star field. For this, they were even prepared to personally descend to that planet. A piece of good news. The burly middle-aged man revealed a faint smile. That planet is moving towards our direction. From the route, it should be preparing to enter our boundless star field. Oh! The surrounding gods were slightly stunned, their eyes flashing with a luster. We don't know why that planet recovered, but since the spiritual essence has recovered, if they want to continue to improve and if they have ambitions, they have to enter our boundless star field. A middle-aged man riding on a 10-meter-large divine beast said indifferently, his eyes flashing with excitement. So, we just have to wait here? An elder from the boundless universe narrowed his eyes and looked at the leaders around him. There are more than a dozen damaged god kingdoms on that planet. There are 2 god tombs. How are we going to divide them? An elder on the pyramid asked calmly. No one can open those 2 god tombs now. When the time comes, we'll rely on our own abilities. The burly middle-aged hall master of the Lingshao treasured palace said indifferently. What about the other god kingdoms? If they are not easy to distribute, they can be used as cultivation areas for our disciples. The elder of the sacred hall said as he swept his gaze over the other factions. The surrounding gods slowly nodded, their eyes shining. From their point of view, the most important thing was the god tomb. After entering the god's tomb, whether they would fight or kill, that would be another matter. However, we absolutely cannot let other factions know about this planet, especially those 5 factions. At this moment, the temple master of the Lingshao treasured palace said with a grave expression. We naturally know about this. Otherwise, with our strength, your Lingshao treasured palace and the sacred hall wouldn't have given us such a huge benefit. The gods on the pyramid said with a faint smile. Among the 5 major factions, the pyramid faction was the weakest. The reason why the 5 major factions were able to share the benefits fairly was because they were afraid that someone among them would tell the other factions about the planet. Especially if the 5 major godlord factions knew that there was a divine tomb on that planet, they wouldn't have a problem with it. Boom, boom, boom. Roar, roar, roar. At this moment, roars suddenly came from the void behind them. The gods from the 5 god lords were slightly startled and hurriedly looked behind them. Chapter 2035. 2035. The gods of the infinite were waiting here. It was located at the boundary of the infinite star field. There was only one life planet in a radius of more than 100,000 kilometers. At this moment, in front of that life planet, 3 enormous divine beasts were pulling in extremely luxurious sedans. At the top of the sedan, a young man was lying on it with his legs crossed. He was eating a fruit that was emitting spiritual energy. Around the void beast carriage, thousands of demigod-level maids and guards were following them. Above the beast carriage, a flag was flying. On the flag was a picture of a plant. They were flying in the void, heading towards the planet in front of them. They were bursting with terrifying power. That's right. The 5 major factions that were attracted by this unbridled power were slightly shocked. Their eyes were flickering as they stared at the flag. Our actions haven't been exposed, right? A god couldn't help but ask with slight nervousness. Impossible. Only those present know of this matter. We haven't even told some ordinary gods. The middle-aged man standing on the flaming greatsword in the fire god palace immediately said, That planet belongs to the divine leaf god lord. It should be the divine leaf god Lord's son heading to that planet. Don't worry. The middle-aged shopkeeper of the Soaring Heavens Palace said indifferently. Let's disperse. According to time, that planet should take nearly 2 years to arrive. We'll come here and wait a year later. An elder of the sacred hall said. All right, we'll prepare here a year later. The gods of the 5 great factions nodded and instantly teleported into the distance. Uncle Lin, who are those guys? At this moment, the young man lying on the divine beast starry sky sedan sensed the fluctuations coming from that side. He raised his eyebrows and asked the old man driving the divine beast sedan. Young master, I wonder what those people from the small factions are doing here. The old man swept his gaze over and shook his head. Sigh, this time father sent me to this remote planet. It's really too miserable. What's on this broken planet? The young man did not care about that group of people and said helplessly. Hee, young master, 20 years will pass very quickly. The old man said indifferently. 20 years can suffocate me to death. The young man's face fell as he raised his head to look at the vast void. If young master can ignite 3 wisps of divine fire, the old master should let you return early. The old man smiled. However, at another location. A voice that was filled with boundless arrogance resounded throughout the entire starry sky. The voice spread over at least 1,000,000 kilometers. FUK, which fellow is even more arrogant than me? The young man immediately stood up and looked in the direction of the voice. Hong. In his line of sight, a wisp of darkness quickly flew towards his right and soon disappeared. This fellow runs quite fast. When the young man saw the wisp of darkness quickly disappear, he muttered. Oh! At this moment, the old man below suddenly stood up, and a grim expression appeared on his face. Young master, that man is not simple. The old man said with a serious face. Not simple? The young man was also slightly surprised. If Uncle Lin said that he was not simple, his strength was definitely not weak. Jia, I have finally passed through that chaotic star area. Here I can fly in the sky. Jia, I have obtained the body of the demon dragon. I have a group of evil spirits. Soon this place will be my world. The young man who was full of devil chi revealed a ferocious and excited expression. This young man was the one who obtained the dragon soul. He had already condensed the body of the devil dragon and controlled more than 20 powerful demons. With the body of the devil dragon, he was confident that he could quickly raise his strength to the eternal God Lord realm. At that time, he would suppress the star field, and he would become the king of this star field. This is the beginning of my road to hegemony. Devil Dragon Son of Heaven's eyes burned as he flew forward and started to build his invincible path. I can sense the aura of life. In a month at most, I will be able to enter the life star area. My grandson is the true Dragon Son of Heaven. My grandson will become the ancestor of the gods and suppress the entire star area. When the son of the earth god entered the boundless star area, a short young man was traveling through the starry sky in the chaotic star area. His body sank into the meteorites like a fish. At this moment, his face was also filled with excitement. Before he died, he had already ignited 9 wisps of divine fire. Now, as long as he had enough resources, he was confident that he could recover to the peak. Furthermore, with the body of the Earth Divine Dragon, he was confident that he would be able to reach the level of the Eternal Divine Lord. He could suppress a region and be invincible. Perhaps, soon, a legend would appear in this region. In the vast chaotic starfield, a blue planet was also heading in the direction of the boundless starfield. Teacher, I'm afraid that my master's soaring heaven's treasured palace will descend on Earth. Perhaps, when we enter the boundless starfield, they will make a move against us. In the underwater dragon palace in the ocean, Ji Fei was sitting at a dining table with Wang Xian, Guan Shuqing, and the other girls. Lingfei recalled her master's cold killing intent not long ago and said to Wang Xian worriedly, "Don't worry, let's eat something." Wang Xian smiled at her. "In the boundless galaxy, how is the strength of the Lingshao treasured palace that used to belong to you? There are also a few forces from the Holy Church. The Hall Master of the skyscraping treasured palace has already ignited 9 wisps of divine fire. Excluding the gods that descended here, there are still about 30 of them. The Hall Master of the Holy Church is about the same strength as the Hall Master of the skyscraping treasured palace. His strength is also about the same. In addition, the throne room of the Fire God Palace, the Pyramid, and the Boundless Galaxy are slightly weaker." Lingfei said to him, "We don't have to worry about this strength. Even if the 5 factions were to join forces, they might not be as strong as the God of Light Wings." Guan Shuqing and the others comforted Lingfei. "That's right. Lingfei, you don't have to worry. As long as the Eternal God Lord doesn't come personally, we don't have to be afraid with Master's Dragon Palace's strength." Xiao Ran comforted her with a smile. "Yeah, I'm just a little worried. After all, the endless star field is the other side's territory." Lingfei thought for a moment and smiled. Just as Xiao Ran and the Dragon Queen had said, the current Dragon Palace could only be suppressed by the arrival of the 5 major god-level forces in the boundless galaxy. The other forces didn't seem to have anything to worry about either. Lingfei, tell us about the boundless galaxy after dinner. Earth should be able to reach the boundless galaxy in less than 2 years. Let's understand it in advance." Wang Xian said to her. "Yes, teacher." Lingfei nodded. However, Wang Xian and the rest did not know that the boundless gods were already waiting for them at the entrance of the boundless star field. Chapter 2036. 2036 was more than a year away, and the boundless galaxy was about to arrive. Inside the chaotic star field, water-blue planets were shuttling back and forth. They were heading towards the boundless star field with many life planets. The boundless star field had 700 to 800 life planets and a bunch of void bases. The area of the boundless star field could not be described by kilometers. Even the distance between the 2 planets was over 1,000,000 kilometers, and the entire star field could be described by light years. Other than the life planets, there were tens of thousands of planets and stars in the boundless star field. In the entire star field, the 5 great god lords were the most powerful. The 5 great god lords occupied the east, west, south, north, and central areas respectively. The 5 great eternal god lords were not to be offended. Other than these eternal god lords, there were hundreds of other powers. After all, basically, there were gods born on every planet. It was also possible for there to be dozens of gods on powerful planets. As for the 5 eternal masters, each of them controlled only a few dozens of life planets. There were more than 100 of them. Wang Xian, Prime Minister Gui, and a group of leaders of the Dragon Palace sat in the Dragon King's palace and discussed some matters. Right now, they only had a basic understanding of the boundless star field. Furthermore, this information was obtained from Lingfei. As for the unknown, they had to be fully prepared. Aohe, if you devour the eternal divine kingdom with the light wings, can you upgrade it to the level of the eternal God Lord? Wang Xian looked at Aohe and asked him, Dragon King, if I devour the eternal kingdom of light wings, I can upgrade my strength to the peak of the God realm. At that time, I can fight against an expert at level 1 of the eternal Lord. He said to him, That's good. As long as we have the strength to fight against the eternal Lord, we have nothing to fear. Wang Xian revealed a faint smile on his face as he swept his gaze across the group of leaders. In the entire Dragon Palace, apart from the leaders, there were 9 wild dragon species, 3 starwood dragon species, and 2 thorn dragon species that ignited the divine fire. Apart from these, there were about 75 members from the other combat divisions who ignited the divine fire. Currently, there were a total of 103 members who ignited the divine fire in the Dragon Palace, excluding the group of girls and his clones. Such a large number of godly state members were all nurtured by killing countless space locusts and killing the god of wings of light who had obtained resources from the divine kingdom. Ao Crab, who was at the peak of the Dragon Palace, was followed by Wang Xian himself. Xiao Lan and Ao Qitian were about the same level of strength as him. Ao Qitian had improved after absorbing the god of wings of light's corpse. With the current strength of the Dragon Palace, it was considered a top existence even in the boundless star field. By the time Ao Crab had devoured the eternal divine kingdom and reached the peak of the godly state, they wouldn't be too afraid of the 5 major god-level forces. Of course, Wang Xian also knew that there was still a huge gap between their strength and the 5 overlords of the boundless galaxy. After all, the 5 major forces had been standing in the starry sky for hundreds of thousands of millions of years. During this 1 year, let all the members cultivate well. When we arrive at the boundless galaxy, we might not be so carefree anymore. Wang Xian said to them, "It's the Dragon King." The leaders of the Dragon Palace nodded. Wang Xian waved his hand and walked forward. "Hey, our busy man is here." He came to the left and right of the Dragon King's palace. When he walked over, he heard 2 sarcastic voices. "Come and take a look at the 2 of you." Wang Xian looked at Hua Erkaier and revealed a smile. If you don't accompany those wives, they will get jealous again." "That's right. They still want us to call them mothers. Why don't they take a look at their own age?" The 2 little girls said with displeasure on their faces. Wang Xian smiled embarrassedly. He came to the chair in front of their residence and laid down on it. "You 2 girls, stop causing trouble for me. Do you still think that I'm not miserable enough?" He shook his head slightly and said, "You pervert, you're miserable. We're the ones who are miserable. We've taken in a pervert as our father and now we have 9 stepmothers?" Hua Er glared at him. Wang Xian smiled and argued with the 2 girls. In the following period of time, just as everyone expected, the earth had completely calmed down. Usually, Wang Xian and the group of girls were happy and accompanied the 2 little girls. As time passed, the group of girls didn't have too many conflicts with the 2 little girls. Gradually, they became more familiar with each other. In the outside world, Sun Lingxiu and Lu Mingxin often stayed in the Eternal Kingdom at the South Pole to cultivate. Not long after, Lu Mingxin ignited the divine fire and lifted the divine kingdom. Because the Eternal God Lord was of the light attribute, many of the treasures he obtained were suitable for Sun Lingxiu. In just a short year, his strength had risen to the realm of 3 wisps of divine fire, far surpassing the other girls. Chen Feiyong's strength had also recovered to the peak of the demigod realm. He only needed to build a divine kingdom to lift it. The students and disciples of the Dragon Gate Academy had cultivated in the eternal divine kingdom for a year, and each of them had received a huge increase in strength. The strength of all the living beings on Earth was much stronger than that on the supernatural continent. A year later, the eternal divine kingdom at the South Pole was devoured by Ao Crab, and the 2 tombs on Earth had completely disappeared. Wang Xian hesitated for a moment and decided to leave the ancient divine kingdoms on Earth. Buzz, buzz, buzz. A year later, at the border of the boundless starfield, numerous huge teams flew over under the leadership of the gods. 5 huge flags fluttered in the void. An incomparably huge temple with an area of more than 10,000 kilometers. Pyramids that were tens of thousands of meters tall. An ocean that covered an area of thousands of kilometers. A sea of fire. Sacred mountains that were emitting holy light. The incomparably huge divine kingdoms carried vast and majestic auras as they sailed in the void. Each banner had around 100,000 followers. Each faction had 100,000 disciples and 5 factions had 500,000 people. None of these 500,000 people were weaker than demigods. In fact, 30% of them had the strength of a demigod rank 5 or above. On every planet, they were definitely considered elites. The strength of these 500,000 people far exceeded that of the 100,000 heavenly soldiers and heavenly generals and the holy warriors. In fact, the two were not even on the same level. Let's enter the chaotic region and wait there for about 500 kilometers. The five forces gathered. In the sky above the Lingshao treasured palace, a burly middle-aged man holding a giant hammer, the Lingshao treasured palace master, glanced at the leaders of the four forces around him and said indifferently, "Good. We'll go about 500 kilometers deep. There won't be any danger. We can also avoid people finding out about the situation here." The leaders of the other four forces nodded. The powerful forces entered the chaotic star area and immediately began to plan and wait. Chapter 2037. 2037 Earth 2037 was coming. Boom. Boom. The five forces had an army of 500,000, and each of them had at least 20 God realm experts. All the gods added together had a total of 140. When the vast skyscraping treasured palace, the sacred mountain of the sacred hall, the huge pyramid, and the river of stars entered the chaotic space zone. The meteorite, which was tens of millions of meters in diameter, was smashed into pieces. The five forces entered the chaotic space zone and flew 500 kilometers forward. Set up a formation immediately. We must be able to predict the arrival of any planet within 10 light years. Don't worry. Leave the formation to the pyramid. We can detect all creatures within 20 light years. That planet will arrive in a year's time at most. Within a year, we cannot let our guard down. A vast voice spread through the void as powerful array formations were set up one after another. The entire chaotic region was enveloped by a vast divine radiance. What are the gods preparing to do? They actually mobilized all of our elites. The five major forces have moved out together, and all the gods have arrived. What is the situation, my lords? Surprised voices came from the disciples of the various forces. They had come here without receiving any news. Even after the array had been set up, they could not contact the outside world. More than 10 years ago, we, the Lingshao treasured palace, and a few other forces seemed to have sent gods to an area where spiritual energy had been restored. Could it be for that planet? Some people guessed in their hearts as they waited quietly. What's going on? There are actually so many people coming to this godforsaken place? It seems like it was those few factions a year ago. However, what the five great factions did not know was that on the planet closest to the chaotic region, a young man was holding a divine artifact and shining it into the void. When he saw this scene, a curious expression appeared on his face. So many people, with such a big fanfare, searching for treasures? Interesting. The young man's interest was piqued. His eyes flickered with a luster. With a wave of his arm, a milky white plant covered it. Buzz! The plant trembled slightly and disappeared into the void. The young man immediately flew towards the chaotic star field. Young master! Not far away, Uncle Lin sensed the young man's figure and shook his head. His figure also flickered as he followed closely behind the young man. More than half a year had passed in a flash. The distance between Earth and the boundless galaxy was getting closer and closer. Dragon King, according to the markings on the starry sky map, we have one more day before we enter the boundless galaxy. On the surface of the sea above the Dragon Palace, Prime Minister Gui said slowly to Wang Xian. Yes, one more day. Wang Xian's eyes were flickering. Tell everyone that Earth will enter the boundless galaxy in one more day. He instructed Prime Minister Gui. It's the Dragon King. I'll inform Xiao Ran and the rest. Prime Minister Gui nodded and informed Xiao Ran immediately. In less than half an hour, Xiao Ran announced this matter on the internet. Are we going to the boundless galaxy? Are we going to the other vital star field? We're going to arrive tomorrow. So fast. We're going to enter another star field. Are we going to fight those aliens? I wonder what the boundless star field will look like. I heard that there are many gods crossing the void there, and there's a god lord suppressing an area. If we want to become gods, We have to enter the boundless star field. At that time, we have to fight with the chosen divine sons of many planets. When the news spread across the entire planet, everyone was in an uproar. After more than 10 years, Earth had finally arrived at the boundless star field. Now that the countdown had begun, everyone walked out of the room and looked up into the void, ready to watch the splendor of another world. Some were excited, some were sad, and some were full of fighting spirit. However, they were not too worried about their safety. With the Dragon Gate Academy and the experts of the Dragon Palace here, they weren't too worried. Everyone came to the open space. They could afford to wait for one day. They looked up at the starry sky and the future. These guys have been here for more than half a year. What are they doing? Are they waiting for the treasures to fly over? In the void not far away from Earth, a young man was hiding somewhere, looking at the 5 forces in front of him with a bored face. Only a bored person like him could do such a boring thing. Uncle Lin stood at the side with a speechless expression, protecting the young man. Everyone, the formation has detected a life planet coming over. At this moment, an excited voice suddenly sounded in front of them. The young man was slightly stunned. He immediately took out something that looked like a telescope and looked over curiously. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. At this moment, the skyscraping treasured palace, the pyramid, the sacred mountain, the ocean, and the sea of fire that were standing in the void immediately headed toward a certain place. Are they here? At this moment, many gods flew out of the divine kingdom's palace. Their faces were filled with excitement and fervent expressions. They're here. They'll arrive in this direction in 7 to 8 hours at most. On the top of a pyramid, an old man roared in a low voice with burning eyes. 7 or 8 hours. Over 100 vast figures gathered together, their faces filled with excitement. The divine tomb. If we can enter the divine tomb and obtain the inheritance of the eternal God Lord. The gods looked at each other, their eyes filled with fanaticism. Next, it was time for them to enjoy the fruits. There's a powerful person on this planet called the Dragon Palace. We'll get rid of them first. Also, what should we do with the billions of lives on this planet? One of the gods on the pyramid asked with sparkling eyes. Leave no one alive. For the time being, no one can know about the divine tombs. A flame giant's deep and cold voice came from within the sea of fire. The eyes of the surrounding gods flickered, and they did not reply. Clearly, everyone agreed with his words. For the sake of this planet, they had lost many gods. Moreover, in their eyes, that group of mortals were nothing more than ants. All factions, get ready. When that planet arrives, surround it. Do not let even a fly fly out. The palace master of the Lingxiao treasured palace said with a cold expression. All right. The other gods nodded and immediately passed down the message to the 500,000-strong army. Yes, great gods. Qi Tian's shout rang out, and everyone's eyes sparkled. After more than half a year, they had a detailed understanding of this operation. More than 100 gods from the 5 major factions and 500,000 experts at the demigod level and above looked at the void in front of them. Time passed bit by bit. 7 hours later, a planet slowly appeared in their line of sight. Everyone's pupils constricted slightly. Earth was here. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.